Well, that was a stinker. Game 49 of the Leafs season, hosting the Minnesota Wild. You can't win 82, we know that. But you just kind of hope that in losses, the performance will be better. I don't want to say the effort. I'm not going to come on and do the cliche or the typical effort and character loss in these. But that's a poor performance from the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. That's the reality of what we just witnessed here against the Minnesota Wild in this 6-3 loss. You'd hope that it would be more competitive, but this honestly felt very one-sided for the Minnesota Wilds. I think that all the way around, a lot of people needed to be better. It never really felt like the Leafs had any type of control over this game. It felt like Minnesota could effectively do what they wanted when they wanted, and you talk about the Leafs throwing a punch like we watched in the Colorado games, the Florida games, even when it came to the game against Winnipeg on Saturday night. You always watched, okay, one team punched, the other team punched back. This was the Wilds who basically were like, throw one punch, the Leafs throw one back, and then the Wild threw two. That was a poor performance, a poor execution from the Maple Leafs tonight. There's a lot to get into. I know that there was a lot that was made of other teams around you today, not necessarily winning games or picking up points to open up gaps. And I know that a lot of people were saying, hey, that's a positive. Sure, it's a positive, and in one side or on one view of things, it's great because other teams around you don't gain ground on you and don't open up any type of gap and make you or leave you behind. But at the same time, that's a missed opportunity. You have a bunch of other teams that don't pick up points, that don't get themselves higher up in the standings. I know that some of these Eastern Conference teams do win today, but I mean, some of them were just teams that you're not necessarily chasing down when it comes to being an imminent threat here. The Penguins win tonight. The Panthers lose. The Capitals lose. Like there's teams around you. The Sabres lose. That helps. But that is, again, a missed opportunity where you could have picked up points. You could have gained some ground in the standings tonight. And yet you show up tonight and put forth that performance. I just want to be very, very meticulous in making sure that I don't say effort. I don't think this was an effort-based loss. This is an execution-based loss. You couldn't break out cleanly. You had moments of it. You had stretches where it was good, fast-paced hockey, and then it was like as soon as Minnesota started to chip away or take a little bit of control back in this game, the Maple Leafs basically just handed it back to them. We're like, okay, now it is your game, and then chased through the rest of it. They would regain possession. They would turn pucks over. They would make bad passes. They would make bad decisions. A lot of times I watch them force passes, force plays. And a lot of that has to do with credit towards Minnesota because of the style of play that they enforced on the Maple Leafs. But this is an execution-based issue. And again, I don't say that to take anything away from the Wild. I'm not saying that if Toronto shows up and executes tonight, they just handedly beat the Minnesota Wild. That's not at all what I'm saying. But when you look at the Minnesota Wild on the other side, a team that is very good, is loaded with talent. Obviously, they're missing a bunch of guys here tonight. We pointed out in the pregame show, basically, most of their second line, some of their defensemen aren't playing in this one. A lot of the playing field gets evened out, and you need to be able to go toe-to-toe and match that. And I see people here saying, well, it's just because the Wild are better, and like that's what it is. Well, okay, sure. Maybe at the end of the day, that means they beat you, but I don't think it had to be like that. And I mean, again, it's one game, but to show what you did against the Colorado Avalanche and show that you can go toe-to-toe and play in that pace and that tempo of hockey, I think at least solidifies the point that it's not something that's impossible for them to do on a nightly basis. And even for chunks of this game, they did it against the Wild, but then they just couldn't get themselves out of these holes. They couldn't get themselves out of these scrambly moments where they got trapped in their zone. They got hemmed in. They struggled on breakouts. They struggled in transition, and the Wild just kind of rammed it down their throats all night. Some of these also tonight was just poor mistakes by guys you don't expect to. Scott Laughton at the end of the penalty kill, a guy we hype up a lot, ices that puck. He knows it. It's a bad time to ice it. You want to change, obviously. You want to get guys off, but just firing one into the O-zone there that goes for an icing and then giving the Minnesota Wild an offensive zone draw with what's basically a tired group out there is a tough start. And then Laughton, veteran play to try to delay that one and get a little bit more of a rest, but he loses the face-off. The Wild swing it from one side across to the other, float through a shot from the point, and then, yet again, it's Morgan Rielly who can't find a way to box out his guy in front, and Foligno tips the puck. Obviously, on that one, there's more to it to lead up to that moment. There's more mistakes that lead to the Wild's opportunity there that ends up capitalizing on that one, but that's a mistake that you don't need to make. That's a mistake from a guy that won't make that mistake in the future, and a guy who recognizes right away, hey, that's a bad one, but he makes that mistake, and it costs you, because that's a team that will make you pay for those moments. The Tarasenko goal that basically ended this game here tonight, made it 4-1 and opened up the gap to a point that was insurmountable here against a really good team with a really good goaltender. Max Domi flips the puck into the offensive zone onto Quinn Hughes' stick effectively. There's a moment where you can maybe hold on for a second, maybe try to get it across center and then dump it in. Obviously, again, you're trying to go for a change. You're trying to get your defense off, but that's one where you put that into Quinn Hughes' feet, a guy who has no issue getting up ice, has no issue advancing the puck, whether it's with his feet or by passing it. He gets his head up real quick, turns the puck up ice in transition, and burns the Leafs who are going for a change. OEL, nowhere to be found because he's coming off the bench. The rest of your forwards coming off the bench. He hits Tarasenko up the middle. He goes in on a break, and he beats Joseph Woll. Puts the game out of reach. Yet again, just play after play in this one that I looked at and said, avoidable, unnecessary, and costly. You don't need to make those decisions, those passes, those plays in some of those moments, and they burn you against a team that is really good and is going to make you pay for it. Few different things to throw in here, which I'm a little annoyed reading some of the chat after this one, not gonna lie. I'm not willing to throw in the towel on this team. I think you give it until, at bare minimum, the Olympic break and see where you're at by the time you get there. 8 games remaining. Can you make up any ground? You've got a big stretch ahead of you this week here where you're now going to play Detroit on Wednesday, Vegas on Friday, Colorado on Sunday. That's going to be a real big test for what this team is made of. It's a lot of games in a short period of time. Can you battle back? But I mean, the comments that I'm reading in the chat, and I know people get pissed because I talk on the show and they want the show to be not talking, I guess, but I mean, just reading some of what's happening here. The Leafs are mid-level, so you get these inconsistent performances, especially coming off a long road trip. First game back is a trap game. I mean, it's your own fucking barn. You're at home. What do you mean the first game back is a trap game? That's a stupid comment. Mid-level. This is how this team has been for 10 years. So if you're trying to say that this group is mid-level here now somehow, they've always done this. They've always done this to themselves and played this way with this inconsistency. That, I think, is just a little bit ridiculous. Like, they always do this. Have they always just been mid-level? I don't think so. I just think these games are so much more important because they put themselves in a hole where they're having to climb out of this significant canyon to get themselves back into sunlight from what they did back earlier in the season. You're finally kind of close to the top, but every time you start to get any type of foothold, it breaks away and you're gripping on for dear life. They just dug themselves so deep. If they didn't start that way, these games wouldn't be as much peak to valley as we're experiencing right now, where on Saturday we come here and everybody's like, what a win. These guys have heart. I love this group. The battle back. Matthews giving the ear. Lawton yelling at the Winnipeg fans. All that. We're all the way back in on these guys. And then here we are. People in the chat. Scott Lawton sucks. Like, shit on us. Our team stinks. This team's mid. Blow it up. They fucking suck. This is embarrassing. Like, guys, they are still right there in terms of pushing for the playoffs. It's a long season. It's a long battle. There's still plenty of hockey left to play. You want these points. You need these points. But let's see where they're at after this stretch and by the end of January. I'm not willing to go from the game on Saturday where everyone looked at it and said 2-1-1 on the road trip. This team's in a good spot, to this loss tonight and saying it's over, shut it down. These guys are pussies. It's embarrassing. How can we go from one extreme to the other and to say it's different people? It's not. I'm reading the same comments from the same people. We'll open up the call lines, and everyone's who's willing to debate is more than welcome to call in and give their thoughts here tonight. I'm down to take the calls for as long as we need to break this one down. A 6-3 loss to the Minnesota Wild, discussing everything that happened here in this loss. One in which, again, what do you want to do? Because you can't win every single game. You can't go 82-0. It's more so the process in these that I'm going to be pointing to and getting frustrated with or breaking down after the fact that I'm curious about. And then, yes, if you start to string together a bunch of losses, yeah, at that point, okay, sure, see ya. Season over. Let's start again. Let's get to where we're at. In terms of the retool, regroup, whatever. But I don't know. One fucking loss to Minnesota, I'm not gonna call the season quits after that. Link to call in was sent in the chat there. You guys can click on that link. Call in if you want to. I want to hear everybody's thoughts. We got a bunch of stuff to get to here tonight on the post game, including best bet, play of the game, grades of the game. We'll give our box score breakdowns, and I want to take calls as well. But the other thing that we'll do throughout the entire show, it's not just a segment, it's something built in as we always do. Proceeds from our super chats do go to Sick Kids Charity. You want to get a question or a comment read on the show, send in a super chat. Canada's #1 children's intensive research hospital, #3 in North America. You send in those super chats, I will read them, I will answer them, I will discuss them. If it's a hot take, if it's a question, I don't care what it is, send in those super chats. Nick copyrights. Hi, Zach. Just for this stream only, could you give a swear warning? I'm watching with my little cousins while babysitting. Nick, appreciate the heads up. I guess I will try to give my best to give you a heads up. I'm sure that based on the way the conversation is going, you'll be able to tell. But I did see that one. Let's read some of these super chats that did come in, though. First of all, Maxentius Decimus. The Wild are contenders, and they showed us we aren't. The Wild are contenders. I don't know. You want to say that this game showed that the Maple Leafs aren't contenders? Sure, go ahead. I think a lot of people were saying the exact opposite after the win against the Colorado Avalanche. Like, you win that one, you play the best game of the season, and everybody says they're legit. Okay, this team is a team that can do something. You believe in them. I just think execution-wise, everything was off tonight. I'm not giving them the excuse of fatigue, or I see people bringing up over and over again the scheduled loss. I'm not saying that at all tonight. You have to win this game, or you have to at least show up at bare minimum. But why does this say we're not contenders? I think a lot of guys here tonight didn't play their best game. If this was just, hey, that's the best they could do, Wild blew them out, Wild smoked them, okay, yes. But for me, we'll start with one area of the ice that was not the prettiest, and this is back-to-back games for him now. Joseph Woll has been struggling lately. Larry 2209. They were bad tonight is why, Zach. Yeah, they played poorly tonight. I don't think this was just best the Leafs could do, getting smoked by the best the Wild could do. I don't think that. I thought this was a bad night. Not an excusable one. I just think it was a bad night for guys, and they got taken advantage of. They made mistakes all over. Their goaltender struggled again. Joseph Woll pulled yet again in this game. Doc Lawton, but it's never the coach. I'm not saying it's not the coach. There are certainly coaching decisions that take place that are frustrating throughout the course of games. But, yeah, start at the back end. Joseph Woll. Tough night for Joseph Woll. I just think that he's not making some of the saves he was making earlier on. I think he's putting them at a disadvantage in some of these situations. He's not making the over-the-top save, the bailout save. And that's a problem right away. Now work your way out. Simone Benoit, I think he got better as the game went on, but he makes an early mistake there with the tripping penalty on Zuccarello. The Leafs had some serious momentum. Like, they were playing really well to kick this game off. The first 5 minutes was high-paced, high-tempo, lots of chances both ways for both teams. I thought we were in store for a really good, really exciting game. And then Simone Benoit takes a bad penalty 4 or 5 minutes into this one, sends the Wild to the power play, and they capitalize. That's a really good power play. That's a power play with Quinn Hughes running that thing, Tarasenko, Kaprizov out there. Like, you are loading it up with talent, and they take advantage of you. Quinn Hughes makes you chase a little bit. You collapse and fall apart in terms of the structure in your zone on that PK as Quinn Hughes steps in, because you got to take him seriously as a threat, because he could just walk down the middle. He could rip a shot. Like, he's a very, very dangerous offensive player who walks in, makes you kind of collapse, lose your structure, dishes down low, a bumper into the guy at the side of the net, and then he goes across where Carlo can't break up that pass, and it's a backdoor goal. You're down 1-0, and you just went from you just went from this fast-paced, fast-tempoed game where you looked like you were about to go and match everything that the Wild were doing here, and you just kind of let it slide with that one. Okay, now we're down 1-0 against a good team who's not going to let us back into this thing easily. And then you let it get to 2-0. It was just another mistake by a defenseman. After that power play goal by the Wild, it turned into a whole lot more of a difficult time for the Toronto Maple Leafs to find their way in a regroup game, in any type of transition game, getting up the ice cleanly, breaking out of the zone cleanly. They weren't able to get through the neutral zone with speed very much. How many times did we watch the Minnesota Wilds clog things up in the neutral zone, step down on pinches and make great reads, put pressure on guys in the corners on breakout passes where they couldn't make anything clean, and then it was just a turnover, regroup either at the blue line or in the neutral zone by the Wilds, turn things back up the other way, and then extend offensive zone time or have another opportunity to score. It felt like that was the majority of this game tonight, and the Leafs were just chasing it constantly. And a lot of it, is the Wild being a really good team. But this is where I push back on people in the chat, like the hacker who's crying away still about last Thursday's game and bringing up, oh, they're a mid-team. Well, McCabe, bad pass on the breakout attempt to Bobby McMann, breaking out of the zone. Misses that one, turns the puck over. It comes back in the zone. A rim around by Faber all the way across to Kaprizov. McCabe is up a little too high. The pass comes down from around the boards to Kaprizov. Kaprizov to Zook, and then Zook back down to Hartman. He walks across and scores on Joe Woll. Not saying that that's one that Joe Woll should have had, but then again, that's one that Joe Woll could have had. A big save there on a guy in tight. Instead, he overextends as he's going across, and Hartman slides it through his legs. I'm not a goalie coach, so I can't break down the technicality of it. But just from the standpoint of big moment, great time to make a save, that was an opportunity for you to make one there, and he doesn't. And it comes off of a mistake by your defenseman and by one that you're supposed to be able to rely upon, who's now put together a bad week and a half of hockey for Jake McCabe. Not going to make him a scapegoat despite what people think where, oh yeah, if we call out a guy's bad play, oh, it's just ragging on guys. But that's a bad play by Jake McCabe, and it builds off of what's already been a tough week for the guy, even dating back to before the game against Colorado. And he stretched that one into Utah, he stretched it into Vegas, he even stretched it into Saturday's game against the Winnipeg Jets. That's a bad decision. It's poor execution. This is where I kind of come back to on this game. I don't think they cheated us for effort tonight. I didn't watch that one and think, wow, they're really dogging it. They don't give a fuck. It just felt like the Wilds were able to take control of this game so much, and the Leafs couldn't get it back. And a lot of it had to do with a lack of execution or poor execution by this team that gave the Wild opportunities. So often on a breakout, forcing turnovers or unforced errors for that matter. But, goal 2. 2-0 now in your own barn in the first period. And yeah, it's a power play goal. Credit to Minnesota. It was great puck movement. But as pointed out by the chat here as well, Benoit, bad penalty. Jake McCabe, chase to the corner. Gets himself out. He's basically one-on-one on a guy where it's now 4-on-3 out front. Slide the pass across. I don't blame Carlo there. He's got to try to play the backdoor guy, and then he's going across to try to take away the pass. Can't get either, and then it's a goal. It's just some dumb, sloppy mistakes in this one throughout the course of this game that basically come back to haunt you throughout, where it's just one moment after the other that piles up, and it gets away from you in this game. It does. It just got away. A lot of people saying Leafs are looking slow. I don't know. Like, they're not the road runners out there, so not even worth trying to sell you on that. But doesn't seem like a problem in general to go on the runs that they have, win the games that they have. I can't do blow it up conversation tonight after this, given where they've battled themselves back to. And there's no reason that they can't go on some type of run and catch back up in the standings or get themselves into a wild card firmly by the Olympics, which is why I think it would be, we talked about premature weebaculation. At the same time, I think there can be premature blow it up ulation, if you want to call it that. But this to me just isn't a poor effort game. It's poor execution. I think a lot of it comes and starts from the defensive side of the puck. And I don't know that it's not an excuse. It's not a scheduled loss. It's frustrating. You can't go 82-0, though, is the one thing I'll say to it. But amen. You need to show up in these games, at least. You need to show up. If anybody wants to call in, the link to call in is pinned in the chat. Hit that link there. I want to hear what you guys think about this one. I want to know how you guys feel. I want to know where people are at following this 6-3 loss. Do you chalk this up to effort? Is this execution? Is this team just not good enough? Can they get this back on track on Wednesday? Like, I want to hear so much more from you guys about this game, more so than even just what I have to say about this. And I see people pointing out the rest of their schedule. I would point to, you beat Colorado last week. Not saying that it's easy to do or you're going to do it again on Sunday and you could just chalk it up to 2 points for the Maple Leafs, but you beat them. You had 4 2-goal leads against the Vegas Golden Knights. You blew all of them, and mostly because of your own bad play, your own mistakes. That was the Maple Leafs handing that game back over to the Vegas Golden Knights. That can be a win. This is no shade at the Detroit Red Wings, but they're not some unstoppable force that just cannot and will not lose. The Ottawa Senators took them to overtime the other day. You had a 2-1 lead on the Detroit Red Wings a couple of weeks ago when you played them last. You blew that one, and you lost in overtime. You have a chance here to catch up. You have a chance here to string some games together, string some wins together. I don't know why people would look at this and say it's over. Canadians P. If you lose to Sens, you should tank. They ass. They are ass. One thing I noticed in this game that I want to touch on here. One thing I noticed that is maybe just reading too much into it, but it feels like it's consistent in some of these losses. Point to Winnipeg, point to Utah, point to Vegas, point to this one tonight. It felt like that physical brand of hockey that the Maple Leafs had played in a lot of that stretch where they were winning basically every night from Christmas on. It felt like it disappeared in those losses. They play it when they're up. They play it when they win games. They play it to open leads up. But it just felt like they got away from a lot of it here tonight, and they have in a couple of the last losses that they've endured. And that's where it's concerning or confusing to me is, why do you get away from the physical game in some of these? And I'm not talking about having to do fight night or do exactly what you did in the game that you beat the Florida Panthers, but I'm talking about finishing checks on the forecheck, closing gaps and taking away space in the neutral zone. I'm talking about winning battles in your own corners or on the wall, winning battles in front of your net, getting involved in those post-whistle scrums. It's not the be-all, end-all, but it's a piece of the game that started to feel like it was their identity. It was who they were, and it was leading, and it was a contributing factor in the games that they were winning. And then you get away from it in some of these losses, and then you see how easy things can be for some of the other teams. You have to marry together the offensive, high-skilled, high-paced game that you want to play with that physical brand for it to work as well as it did for that stretch. And I think that's why in some of these losses, they feel as bad as they do, because you look at it and you go, there's a disappearing act from the physicality side of things. You're not hitting everything that moves. You're not closing gaps in the neutral zone. You're making it really easy to gain your zone and get zone entries. You're making it easy down below your goal line. You're making it easy for guys in front of the net. How many rebound goals are we seeing right now where guys are winning box-out battles on the Leafs defensemen? Guys are winning puck battles in the corner to get second and third chance opportunities. They keep losing that. They keep abandoning that style. And it felt like that was something that they needed to have, because if you can close out on the Wilds and you can not let them gain your zone so easily, it's not like this just flips it in your favor, but it makes it a much tougher night for Minnesota. They did it to you. They didn't let you break out easily. They didn't let you gain their zone easily. And then the other way, it was just easy to walk around the Leafs tonight. Bradley Vision, Foligno and Hartman are dog-walking anyone on the Leafs team. Why would they want to deal with that if they play physical? Okay, sure. Those are two physical guys. But you did it against Florida. They've got a bunch of big, mean, bad guys over there. You shouldn't be scared. I don't think they played scared. It's not what I'm trying to say, but you shouldn't be playing scared of this physical brand because, oh, there's two guys over there that can do it. More super chats. This super chat comes in from Captain Thunder 8284. Apologize to Mitch, you coward. No, never. Fuck you, Captain Underpants. Zach Green just left Scotiabank Arena on the GO train home. I'm pretty rattled that we didn't see a great effort. I think this is Hildeby's net for now. Missed opportunity, losing those 2 points tonight. Yeah, look, credit to the Wild. They played a great game tonight. I don't think that this was just the Leafs giving it to them. I think that this was the Wild playing better than the Maple Leafs played tonight. So it's not any disrespect to the Wild on the postgame here at all. I mean, full kudos to the Wild for how they performed tonight and how they showed up. But it's frustrating. Also, a 6-3 loss. The other aspect of this was special teams, as pointed out by numerous people in the chat. 1 for 4 for the Leafs on the power play. Your power play was not just not scoring. I know JT got that one off the pass from Matthew Nyes. It was a great play. It was a great puck movement shift. You start with the puck. You maintain possession. Puck was moving quickly. You were changing not just where the puck was on the ice, but making it go from low to high and then back down from high to low and making Minnesota have to kind of follow around and turn their heads and chase it around a little bit on that power play. And then you get John Tavares to open things up into the mushy middle there. Nyes does a great job of selling it like he's going backdoor to Matias Michelli. And then he whips that thing over to John Tavares in the middle, who rips home a one-timer and beats Gustafsson to make it back to 2-1. That was great. But then after that, the power play fell off a cliff. Zone entry was tough. Maybe some of that has to do with Nylander, who I think is your primary zone entry guy, not being here to carry pucks in, but zone entry was not good. Most of the chances that I think you were generating on your power play, which just brings back up this point to me, and the guy is the focal point of frustrations for myself and a lot of people in Leafs Nation right now, is that Morgan Rielly's the guy running the power play. He is not a threat from the point. And Minnesota seemed to kind of play to that. Matthews wasn't given much time and space on the power play there. They didn't allow him to get any kind of clean or easy look. And the other thing about that, where people are going to say he makes this much money and he should be able to create those chances for himself. And while I half disagree with you, or half agree with you, on the other side, I disagree where the Wild did a great job of taking that away. The Wild did a great job of making sure life was not easy on Matthews. They played aggressively. They got out to you quickly. They made sure it was a focus where he's the primary guy. And then it's Morgan Rielly who's up top, and they basically were just like, shoot it, man. Passing the puck to Morgan Rielly at the point, the way that penalty killers should be and are effectively treating Morgan Rielly is like he's some scrub who can't shoot threes. Like they treat this guy like he's some big man who has no three in his bag. You see guys in the NBA, wide open three-pointer, it's some big man, he's not going to shoot this thing, and they all turn around, turn their backs, and start walking towards to get a rebound. And that's basically what they do when Morgan Rielly gets the puck at the top of the point. I counted like 3 or 4 different times where Morgan Rielly is firing through a floater, and it's just easy to see. No net front screens. The Wild make his life easy. They clear it out lanes, give easy paths. Morgan Rielly, take your shot, buddy. You're not beating us. There's no threat from the point for Morgan Rielly. They don't have to play him honestly. And it doesn't allow other guys to get open in the same way. And then the other piece of it is, against Winnipeg, you could see it where Matthews becomes a threat on the wall. Winnipeg gets over to play him, and they were a little bit more scrambly than what Minnesota is, so they're going to break down a little bit more. But you watch Auston Matthews become a threat, that opens other people up. It opens up passes into the middle of the ice. It opens up Nyes and JT, and it opens up Michelli to be able to move around and get themselves into open position for them Matthews to sling it or for them to move it quickly and take advantage because guys are overcommitting to Matthews. They basically were just taking that option away from the beginning and just not giving him enough time and space to begin with. And then Morgan Rielly is forced to be the puck carrier, which is a fucking nightmare. Puck back to Morgan Rielly, shot from the point, easy glove. Puck back to Morgan Rielly, shot from the point, into the chest. Puck back from Morgan Rielly, easy blocker to the side. No worries about anybody on the defending team. No worries about the goaltender not being able to see things or just getting beat cleanly. He doesn't have a threat from back there. He's not a dangerous player when it comes to running that power play because he doesn't move it around quickly. He's very predictable. He doesn't move his feet very quickly. The special teams could have been a lot better, and that's just the power play side. The penalty kill was 1 for 3 tonight. Very dangerous power play from Minnesota, so credit to them for snapping it around and contributing the way they did. But one for 3, it hurts you. You lost 6-3. You went 1 for 4 on your power play and 1 for 3 on your penalty kill. A little bit better on either side, and this game could look different. 6-3 obviously ends up being the empty net goal. You score one more, you take away one on the Minnesota power play. Game feels and looks different. Matt asking, who do you want on the back end on the power play, Zach? OEL? Yes. I think OEL is a better puck transporter. I think he's more responsible defensively. I think he's better at reading things in the offensive zone when it comes to pinches and extending zone time and extending opportunities that you have. I think OEL is outplaying Morgan Rielly and should be running power play number 1. Because the other piece of it that you have to be frustrated with as a Leafs fan is they're also giving up a lot of chances. And Morgan Rielly is a bad defender. So is he the guy you want trying to break things up? Because I don't think it is for me. 49 likes here on the postgame show. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, Leafs Nation 401, right here on YouTube, trying to get 25,000 subscribers by the Olympics. It's a lofty goal. I understand that. We may fall short, but that is the goal, 25K. So if you're watching and you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Send this to your friends that you think would enjoy this, enjoy the conversation in the chat, that may want to call in, whatever it is. Maybe it's just a Leafs friend who needs some post-game therapy after frustrating losses, poor performances. Send it to your friends. Get people involved. Let's get in here in the post-game show and talk about everything going on. Mig says, Leafs org thought getting rid of Marner would solve the culture. He was a symptom. Problem is lack of accountability. Rielly is prime example of this culture continuing. I don't think you're completely wrong. I think that I think that 16 was a significant contributor to the culture problem, and having him gone is a positive long term. I do think there are remaining artifacts of that original culture that are still biting this team in the ass. I do agree with Mig there. I think that accountability on some of these guys is something that is biting them in the ass. Dyslexic pointing out, Rielly is constantly rewarded for poor play. It's unreal. Like, Morgan Rielly tonight, 23 minutes and 18 seconds, 5 minutes of power play time. 0 goals, 0 assists, 3 shots on goal. Even on the night. Oh, so, okay, I mean, I guess, sure, that I guess could be a positive if you want to look at it that way, is that he's even, but How are you not finding more minutes for OEL, who plays 1930? How are you not finding opportunities for Brandon Carlo to play more than 19 minutes? Simone Benoit, who I think made a bad play on the first penalty he took, plays 13 minutes and 50 seconds. Why does Morgan Rielly have to play 23-18? Jackie M says, why are we all acting like Morgan wants to be bad? I don't think we're acting that way. I don't know if people in the chat disagree. I don't think we're acting like he's choosing to be bad. But I'm saying he has better hockey in him. It's just not found its way to the ice right now. Yep, pointed out Eric Martin, Leafs, or Rarman, sorry, Zach, the third goal from many. Morgan defending Foligno. Yeah, easy for him in front of the net. John Mayer, Rielly is minus 37 in his career. Is that true? I want to check this. If that's true, that is insane. Is he minus 37 in his career? He's on pace to be minus 24 this season. Just a heads up to people. Morgan Rielly in his NHL career is in fact a minus 37. Do you know how hard that is to do on this Leafs team that for 9 years, bare minimum, was this high-flying offensive group who could just outscore teams at will in the regular season? Obviously, he was here for longer before that, but are you fucking kidding me? Dean Youngblood, Rielly is the 7th D guy on the Trashers. Damn. Mike Cormier, hi from Moncton. What's up? Oh, man. All right, Super Chats. Again, I want calls tonight. We don't have anybody lined up here, which is shocking after a Leafs loss. I figured a lot of people would want to call in. If it's not, we'll just keep going with segments and stuff. But I want calls. I want to see how everybody's feeling. Zach Green just left Scotiabank Arena on the GO train home. I'm pretty rattled that we didn't see a great effort. I already read that one. Sorry. Look, he says missed opportunity losing those 2 points tonight. I think it's tough. It's a tough position because where you're at in the standings and with everyone around you picking up 2 points every night, yes, you also want to be picking up 2 points yourself. You look at a game where the opposing lineup is also depleted, but and you think, hey, this is a chance for you to capitalize. But you can't win every single night. I guess that's the only other way to look at it. I'm trying to find, there's a quote here from Matthews, from Nyes coming out after this game. Here, Matthew Nyes on dealing with the lingering injury. It's one of those that the more you play, the more wear and tear on it. It's not going to get better. Yeah, it's been honestly shitty, but I got to do my best to prepare as well as I can. He's clearly dealing with something. A lot of people want to write him off and say he stinks, but I will give him the benefit of he's dealing with something. CBR PS 269 with a super chat. Why is Rielly treated differently than everyone? Treat them all the same. They will fight for each other. Don't disagree, man. And I don't think that it's like outrageous at this point to sit Morgan Rielly down for shifts and take minutes away from the guy. He's struggling. Mike Cormier, is it only Zoom? Yes, it's Zoom to call in. Here's smelling salts. for those new, for those just tuning in, or for those who forgot, every set of 50 likes, 50, 100, 150, 200, we do the smelling salts. Dean Youngblood, I'm hungry and horny. Damn. All right, Dean. Okay, super chat from Maxentius Decimus. Only way the Leafs will win a cup is if we Trouba Morgan Rielly. The worst contract Dubas ever signed. That NMC is death from Maxentius Decimus. Yeah, I think the big problem with Morgan Rielly right now is that the contract that you have that's attached to him is not equal to the point production you get out of him. Or at least it's not equal to his importance on the team. And what I mean by that is he's the highest paid defenseman you have. And right now you look at Ekman Larsson, who's the better D-man and more important to the group. Jake McCabe, who's the better defenseman and more important to the group. Chris Tanev, who's not playing but is a better defenseman and more important to the group. Do any of them put up points or contribute as offensively as Morgan Rielly can at his peak? No. But is Morgan Rielly playing at his peak offensively? No. And has he played at his peak offensively over the last while? No. So comparing how he's paid in this lineup relative to other defensemen in this lineup, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I'm not trying to run Morgan Rielly out of town and demand this guy gets Trouba. You saw what happened to the Rangers locker room when that was the case. I mean, it tore them apart. But he's not been at that level given highest paid defenseman and what his offensive and defensive production has been. It's just not anywhere close to what it needs to be. And then the other thing to add to this, which I'm not the coach, I don't deploy these guys, but why is he playing more minutes than Ekman Larsson tonight? Why is Brandon Carlo only getting 19? Why is Simone Benoit playing 13 minutes? I know that he was coming back from injury, so maybe some of it is just easing him back in, but is Morgan Rielly really helping this group? Why not find a way to utilize him differently? Take away minutes. Find another spot for him in the lineup. It's a little bit frustrating. Yes, everyone is welcome to call tonight. Let's go to our first caller. He's been waiting for a little while here. So let's open up the line to Scott Thompson. Scott, it's been a while since I've heard from you, man. How you doing?
Hey Zach, what's up? I'm disappointed again with this effort tonight, but I do want to talk about the defense.
Okay, quickly before we go to that, because you said it, can you expand on what you mean by the effort tonight? And I'm not trying to pick apart what you're saying. I'm just wondering. You said you're disappointed in the effort. Do you disagree with me? Like I don't think that this was a night that I thought, wow, they dogged it effort-wise. If that's the case and you think that, okay, no problem. I mean, we can have a conversation about it. But what is it that you mean when you say this effort tonight?
I guess you're kind of right. I guess I don't have a lot of proof to back that up. It's sort of the decision making. In a way, I think Wall could have played better. But at the same time, there was a lot of defensive lapses. I guess it doesn't come down to effort. It does maybe on the special teams, but...
No, I mean, look, if you think that the Leafs didn't have effort tonight, that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just personally didn't feel like... And, Scott, I think part of it is just because comes from me looking at the team knowing there's nights where they dogged it, and I just didn't feel like that was what we saw. I just personally thought it was piss poor execution. So I don't point at this and say they dogged it, they didn't try, they didn't show up effort wise. I think a lot of the game went poorly, but I look again, if you think it was effort, no problem. It wasn't the best effort of all time tonight. I will say that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right, honestly. When I think about it more, compared to other games where we see them play like only the 20 minutes at the end or they start good for 40 and then shit the bed in the third, I'd say, yeah, tonight was a more consistent effort, but I think it comes down to the decision making of the coaching tonight. I mean, you're saying Morgan Riley playing 23 minutes is absurd. I agree. But part of those minutes is him on the penalty kill, and I don't understand why he's on the penalty kill at all.
Yeah, he was. I mean, according to the ESPN box score, he's only listed as 20 seconds of penalty kill. But in terms of him being out there for penalty kill at all, I mean, yeah, I would agree.
That 20 seconds was him on the first penalty kill when they got scored on.
Okay, yeah, right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, yeah.
And then there's a lot of other things too. It's like Benoit was out the last two games, sitting in the sidelines. He comes back and then he has a few mistakes early on. I thought he did get better throughout the game, but that's a guy I do want to see in the lineup getting minutes. Carlo as well. But in terms of our defense as a whole, what I want to talk about is Luke Shen and how last stream a lot of people were shitting on the idea of Luke Shen.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say they're wrong because we need something else back there. Like my ideal lineup if Luke Shen came in would be Riley Shen, McCabe Stetcher, and then OEL and Carlo. I think McCabe this season has played the best when he's with Stetcher, and Stetcher's still been good, but down with on the third pair with Benoit and the other day when he was with OEL, I think it was, he's not getting as many minutes and he's been less noticeable.
Yeah. Yeah, he has been less noticeable. I think with getting Luke Shen, if you do go and get Luke Shen, because I see a bunch of people in the chat asking when will they go and add guys. I saw El Hacker earlier saying why don't the Leafs go and add a guy like what Vegas does and adding the defense that they do and making the big swings that they do. I don't think they should, first of all, this season more than ever. And I see people asking about should they go and try to bolster the lineup? Why doesn't Brad Treliving go and add guys? If anything here, I'm with you, Scott. I would just add a smaller piece to just kind of level some things out and take some responsibilities away from people. I didn't understand the hate towards Luke Shen in the last one, but yeah, I don't know. Like you're seeing diminishing minutes from guys right now. I do think that Troy Stetcher was riding a high earlier on, but I also think part of this is just Berube struggling with pairings and who he's putting guys with and just putting guys in the wrong spots and stuff. Like Troy Stetcher playing with Simone Benoit, you're naturally not going to want to play those guys a lot. Troy Stetcher playing with Jake McCabe is a different story, but the problem that you end up having is you've got Brandon Carlo with Morgan Riley, so that's your first pairing situation, and then you can't put Morgan Riley to anybody else, so now you're kind of forced to have OEL and McCabe as your second pair, and then Stetcher and Benoit as your third. And the other thing to throw in, Stetcher was playing so well with Jake McCabe. Now Jake McCabe's play has dropped off, and Stetcher's has slowed down a little bit too. Like, it's just hurt a lot of guys with Morgan Riley not being able to pair up with people, and I think Luke Shen's a guy that he could pair up with.
Yeah, and I would agree with one thing you said for sure. Like you said, like we're not in the greatest position to be making a move early, and that kind of sucks this year because in the past few years we have made moves, but they've come at the end of the trade deadline when we're trying to get the best deal possible, and then there's not enough time for the guys to gel with the team. Like it takes time for guys to work out. Like we brought in Lawton, Carlo, all these different guys, Michelli, even when Domi came, it took them quite a bit of time to find their role and actually start to make an impact. And I think when you make a move right at the trade deadline, sometimes even in playoffs, we're not seeing guys make an impact. Like when we brought in Foligno, when we brought in O'Reilly, when we brought in Edmondson. These guys just came in and they were expected to fit in right away. And if this year we're going to do anything, I think we need to take a risk sooner rather than later and get a guy in and let him gel.
I would agree with you. I think you're seeing the benefits of that with a Scott Lawton. Now, it's a hard night for me to say that because I think it's a tough night to say this because I don't think he had the best game of his Leafs tenure. I'm not saying he's had a bad game, but he did have a couple noticeable moments where it went sideways for him. The one, obviously, is the icing. It's not to rag on him. He knows it. If you had a candid moment, or even honestly, if you ask him in the postgame, he's probably going to be the first guy to put his hand up and say, yeah, I fucked up here on that icing. And then he loses the draw. And then they score right away after. So I know just based on the way he takes accountability, I'm not saying because I know him personally, but how he does it publicly, he's willing to admit that. But, I mean, that's aside the point. The point is, how much did he struggle last year, Scott, when he first got here, right? Like, he didn't acclimate to the city, to the team, to all that when he first got here. It was tough for him to get into that rhythm with this team. It was tough for him to kind of get on the same page as everybody and then be able to show that kind of character that he has and be the guy he is in the locker room. Now you get a longer runway with the guy. He has more opportunity to be around the guys, be around the city, be around family, teammates, the coaching staff, all of it. And he's a completely different player. And you can very clearly tell this is a guy who's changed the attitude and the character of the room. And I think it's a good point because you get some more guys in here earlier on if you're going to go and try to make some trades. I think that it gives you a chance to have them come in and fit in over a longer period of time. So I for sure agree with you. If you are going to make some little, like the problem is though, little tinkers I think would be the only thing you could do. Not the big trades you've made at deadlines before because, I mean, I don't necessarily want to go all in on this team right now, especially considering the injuries that they're surrounded with and just continue to see pop up. Like that's my counterpoint though, Scott, is Nyes not at 100%. You can tell John Tavares is a little bit slowed down right now. William Nylander injured here yet again, re-aggravates the same thing he had the other day, or the other last week. Tanev not even playing. Like, Benoit went out with injury. Stolar's dealing with nerve stuff. And like, it's just everybody seems to have injury after injury that piles up and just, it seems like the season from hell. I don't know. It's a weird situation. Like maybe you're right. Maybe you just go and trade for somebody and it turns it all around. But I don't know. I just would be reluctant to make any kind of big move right now, unless it's something with term.
Yeah, I don't think a big move is possible. I don't think it's a good idea. You're right. The move, regardless, is not going to be what turns this team around. The team needs to find something in itself anyways, and the coaching needs to make some better decisions for us to get there. But I think the biggest move we can make is somebody like Luke Shannon. Even if we don't get him early and we get him at the end of the trade deadline, at least he's been here before. He's been in the locker room. And then with Lawton's role coming in, I think he's changed the dynamic of the locker room where new guys probably fit in better. Like the last few years, it's probably a testament to the Leafs locker room, if anything, with how many guys just didn't fit in when we brought them in at the trade deadline.
Yeah. It's also even, I didn't even bring up Dakota Joshua just hasn't been playing. That's another guy who's been out, and who knows what the timetable for return is for him as well. It's a tough season, Scott, because I don't think I would want to go nuts adding guys. I want to at least get through the Olympics and see where you're at, because the other part is you have 8 games left. It's a tough stretch, including this week in particular, with the opponents that you have to face. You could be very much in it. You could be very much out of it by Sunday night.
Yeah, time will only tell. One thing I wanted to ask you about is, like, obviously you touched on Matthew Nye's comments about how something is lingering and it's only really getting worse with play. And then that really shocked me because I was like, if he has anything, it must be something where he can
It can't
play
get
through it
worse.
and then
Yeah.
it's like, why is he playing then? Or like I get we need him, but like he hasn't been making the same impact that he always has. So it's like, why not let someone else step up and try? And we don't really have anyone else other than AHL guys at the moment. But fuck, I mean, I don't know. What do you think of that?
No, I I guess the only thing is like, what is the timetable for return if he does take time off? He missed a good amount earlier, and maybe that's why he's decided to just play through it, is because he knows it's not something that is going to get better with rest, or he's going to be able to return to the season if he gets that rest, or at 100% if he gets the rest. So maybe that's why he's just battling through it. But I kind of agree with you on like, why not rest him? And I was thinking about it when the game happened, and obviously hindsight is 2020. Like, it was at a point where they were down 4-1 heading into the third period, and I'm looking at it and thinking, why would you put Nyes in this game or have him play in this game if he was even remotely close to not playing, when you know how big the stakes are in this week coming up, specifically the game Wednesday, the games next week against the Buffalo Sabres. Like, you look at the schedule that you're facing, you've got Minnesota tonight, really good team coming in here, obviously missing a bunch of guys, but still really good team coming in here, really good goaltender. Then you look at Wednesday, it's the Detroit game. It's an Eastern Conference opponent. It's a team that you potentially could catch up to in the standings. It's unlikely, it's a far-fetched goal, but you could catch up to. But that's the big one for me. And then Friday against Vegas, that's another big one that you should be marking on your calendar. Sunday against Colorado is going to be a weird one. I don't want to call it a scheduled loss. I just don't get the warm and fuzzies about beating the Avs twice in 2 weeks. They could do it. No problem. They've shown that they could do it once, so why not be able to do it twice? But I kind of get the feeling Avs have that jump. But then after that, okay, like, why not get him a little bit rested, take today off, take from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then play Wednesday against Detroit, and then see how you're feeling on Friday. So I do agree with you from that standpoint, like, why force him to play?
Yeah, and my worry is that, like, obviously his play could be better, but my worry is that in these games coming up, if it's only getting worse, is it turn into something even bigger? And then it's like, I don't know. That's where you're sitting here as a fan, like, wanting to know more information. Like, if we knew what it was, that would help. But yeah, I mean, these next few games coming up are definitely going to be tough. Luckily, tonight I saw it. Pittsburgh lost, Florida lost, and
Yeah.
Washington lost. So that was like a blessing in disguise, really. Usually when we lose, those guys win. So that's the only saving grace tonight. But these next two games are huge for the season.
I know that's that's frustrating. It's like a positive and a negative at the same time, because we were having this conversation as it happened in real time in our group chat, and it was pointed out, well, nobody else picked up points around you, and it's like, yeah, that's great because you lost and you don't lose ground. At the same time, nobody else picked up points around you. It's a night where you could have, and then you could get some ground on the teams ahead of you. So that's frustrating there. You got anything else for me, Scott? We got a bunch of callers now. Nobody wants to call in for the first hour of the show, and then all of a sudden Scott calls in and everyone's like, oh shit, okay, I'll do it. Scott, you're a trailblazer tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad I called. I guess one more thing is I saw they're talking about Stolarz possibly coming back. I'm worried. Do you think they're going to try to start him against Detroit on Wednesday?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think if anything, you give it to Hildeby.
Yeah.
I think you give Hildeby his scheduled start, which would technically be Wednesday against Detroit based on how they've rotated. I think you give it to him. I would say that the way Wall has been playing, it's more Hildeby's net than it is Wall's. I think Hildeby's been really good. Even in some of the games he's coming in relief, he's looked good. The games that he's coming in won, he's been good. The only game that I thought was a down game for him was the game against Utah, but that wasn't even his fault. The team played like shit in front of him. So I would say no to Stolarz. I think you give it to Hildeby. See where you're at Friday. because do you then, are you going to technically go back to Joseph Woll in that game? Probably. Okay, so now you have a decision. Do you go Stolarz and do you go Woll? And that's where I come to the conclusion of, or I make the conclusion if I'm the coach, of which one of the two I would rather play. So that's kind of where I would wait for, but I wouldn't play him on Wednesday.
No, I agree. I was worried. I'm thinking like, well, with Wall not playing well, are they going to try to throw Stolarz in against the Red Wings? But they've been hot. But then the question becomes, if you don't play him, then you probably don't want him against Vegas for his first game back, and you probably don't want him against the Avs for the first game back. You even probably don't want him against the Sabres for his first game back. So when do you think we'll see Stolarz?
Well, I think you'd rather have him back against a Western team. I think you'd rather have him back against Vegas on Friday or Sunday against Colorado than than the Eastern Conference teams, because I think in those you'd rather have the guy that you're going to be more reliant upon based on their play recently. And that guy, to me, as of right now, like the one guy that I trust the most of anybody is Dennis Hildeby. So in those Eastern Conference games, I would like to see him. I obviously would go to Hildeby on Wednesday and then just see where you're at, because like if things line up, I'd like to see Hildeby get the chance against Buffalo. But then, you know, maybe you give one of the guys the net on Friday or Sunday and see how Stolarz performs, or see how Woll bounces back in that one, and give yourself a direction going forward. But if it's anything, honestly, Scott, I'd rather give it to in a game against a Western Conference opponent, because the games against the East teams are so much more important. You can't risk like a trial run. Yeah. Also, quickly, I think that they would probably send him to the AHL for conditioning first. That's at least what I would do. You can put a guy on a conditioning stint, especially a goaltender. So that's who I would put. That's what I would do. I would put him on a conditioning stint, give him a couple games. Doesn't matter how he performs there. The AHL is very different. That's the one thing I think people learn over time, where it's like we overreact to results in the AHL immediately, but it really doesn't matter. Like, give the guy some chances there, especially if it's an NHL goalie going down to the AHL. Just give him a chance to play, get his rhythm back, then bring him back.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
All right, Scott. Anything else for me here? Otherwise, I'm going to get some other calls.
No, I think that's all. I'll let you get to them.
All right. I appreciate it, Scott. Thanks for the call tonight. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You too, Zach. Have a good one.
All right. There you go. Scott Thompson on the line. A few more callers to go here tonight on the post game. We'll get to some of the ones that are going to be a little quicker and not as volatile over the next little while. But before we get to any of that, let's get to our best bet. Our best bet is a presentation of Bet365. Use promo code NATION, that's NATION, promo code NATION, NATION, must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. This one is a loss. We're not going to spend too much time on it breaking this down, but we did have Scott Laughton anytime goal here tonight. We took a bit of a swing. It was a really, 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 really good number on Bet365. It was plus 800. Basically everywhere else was having 400, 450, 500 posted here on Scott Laughton tonight. Bet365 had plus 800, so we went with a half unit on that. We were going low risk, high reward on Scotty Laughton, just based on plus 800 is a line that he was getting on your bottom six anyways. I thought there was a chance that his line could take advantage of the bottom six of the Wild with all their injuries and moving guys up in the lineup. Maybe they could take a shot here at Scott Laughton at plus 800. And if it won, we would have won 4 units here tonight. But unfortunately, it doesn't. Scott Laughton does not score, so we lose half a unit tonight, $50 down the drain. We go back down 0.5 units on the season. Just brings us below the 0 mark on the year, and that would be through 71 bets on the year. We are just 0.5 units down this year, so that one loses. Unfortunate. Let's try to get it back on Wednesday. With that, let's get to our next caller here. Been waiting patiently, sent in some super chats. Let's get to Zach G. First of all, great name, buddy. Great name.
Great name.
There we go. What's up, Zach?
Quick. I'm just gonna be quick because I took a lot of your time the other night. So
it's all
I was
good.
at the game. I wouldn't say it was a piss poor effort, but I would say that they did not look good at all. They looked very out of sync.
Yeah.
And obviously Wall let in a couple bad goals, and they just kind of they let him get buried again. Like, I don't know, they didn't look great at all on their own end. The only thing I was gonna say was like Nyes was hurt, and
Yep.
and I was surprised he was gonna play because I saw Quillen was out there for warm-ups, and he didn't end up playing obviously. So I don't know. I would probably have just left Nyes out of the lineup tonight and played Quillen because like you said, he's out of rest. Man, something's wrong with him. Let him rest till at least Detroit or the Vegas game.
Yeah. The other thing too that I was talking about in the pregame, and I know a lot of people are going to be pissed off at me for bringing this up here, especially he didn't have the best night. But the thing I was thinking about was based on what the line rushes were. And just to be clear for people as well, what I was talking about in the game preview is if a guy doesn't skate at morning skate, a lot of times what they will, or in practice for that matter, a lot of times what they will do is leave all the other lines intact, and then they will put a placeholder. So let's use an example. So let's say all the lines are normal. William Nylander is in your lineup, and Calle Jarnkrok is a guy in the press box. If William Nylander doesn't skate that morning for maintenance, they'll put Calle Jarnkrok on the second line in his place just for the sake of line rushes, and it keeps all the other lines together. What they do when somebody is not playing or they're expecting somebody to not play is they will rejig the lines in a way in which they would likely see during a game just to get guys familiar with each other ahead of the game. It's obviously like you're just going to run guys out for a morning skate and hope that gets them familiar, so who knows. But Scott Laughton was moved up to the second line at morning skate, which would indicate had Nyes not played, Scott Laughton would have been your second line right winger. It would have been him and Michelli, the two left-handed shots, but playing him, Tavares, and Michelli as your second line. Then you would have had Jacob Quillen filling in as your fourth line center, and that would have been how the lines shook up. I think that on a game-by-game basis, Scott Laughton would be a serviceable guy to play in your second line. You need a guy to get into a game, drag some other guys in it, to play at the same pace and tempo as other guys to contribute for a night. Scott Laughton is a guy who could help you out on that second line. You don't have to risk breaking up the first line. You don't have to risk breaking up the third line. And then you could just put Quillen into the fourth line, play them for less minutes because it's Jarnkrok, Quillen, and Lorentz. So it's okay. Tonight's a night where maybe you could take it off a little bit, bury them a little bit in the lineup, and then play your first, second, and third lines a whole lot more. You played Matthew Nyes. He didn't look 100%. He had a beautiful pass on the goal to John Tavares, but like you just forced the guy into the lineup here again. And I mean, I just talked about it with Scott a little bit, but I mean, Zach, like the thing for me is why not get the guy rested up until Wednesday's game against Detroit? Why not give him that little bit of an extra break when and I don't mean this in like a disrespectful way, but when Laughton could have filled that role sufficiently for the night. I'm not saying he is Matthew Nyes, and Nyes being back does push Laughton down and does give you more depth and versatility from 1, 2, 3, and 4. But why not just give him that night to take a rest, to get through it, to give him that second line chance, to go and play your third lines and keep them intact, to give the first line that opportunity to stay intact. Like, why not just do that and give him the night off? Like, he looked like he was struggling tonight. And even at that, you know, you're not trying to go into this and lose and just wave the white flag beforehand, but you lost 6-3. It was a tough effort here or a tough performance, I should say, against the Wild. Like, tonight could have been a rest night for Nyes where you're at home, you get an extra day, you get an extra couple rest days here for him before the game on Wednesday. Like, I would just give that opportunity to Nyes where you have a serviceable piece to go and fill a hole for a game. So I would just leave it there. But I mean, yeah, I don't want to force Nyes into these games when you can tell he's clearly struggling.
Yeah, I mean, they've got so many injuries this year. It looks like I think we're getting to the point where like the other caller was saying, we should probably consider making some sort of move before you get to the trade deadline. And I think the only one that really makes sense is Luke Shen, to be honest with you. Like Riley looked like Riley tonight again. And I mean, starting to get kind of sad to watch him out there, to be honest. Like he's just a defensive liability out there now. And
Yeah. He
so
looks like he's like old Yeller, man. He's like the
yeah,
dog you love. You love having him around. Nobody has a problem with him personally. We love that he bleeds blue and white, but it's like every time he goes out there and plays, you're like, oh my God. And like old Yeller can't retrieve sticks anymore.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't know.
tough. Yeah. What else you got, Zach?
It was just kind of a depressing loss. I took my brother-in-law for the game, and big L we took. So,
yeah.
Anyways, thanks
hey,
for
question
having
for
me,
you. Wait, don't go yet. Hold on. Question for you. You were at the game. What was the environment like in there? Because I don't know if it's just Prime and the audio that they pump through, but it sounded louder in there. Was there more energy in the arena, or was it a library again? Was I being lied to?
I was gonna say, yeah, it was bad. It was very bad. Like the lower bowl was almost like half empty most of the game, which was kind of depressing to see. I think the vibe and like when Matthews scored the third goal, like I always stand up when they score. Like I get into it type thing. Nobody else around me stood up. I'm in the 300 level. Yeah, but yeah, I just looked like I put a picture up on my Instagram of it. It's brutal, man. I could send you the picture later. Like, it was so depressing. Depressing.
That's
Anyways,
tough
thanks for having me, man.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it. Get home safe tonight.
Yeah, will do, man.
All right, there you go. Great name, Zach G on the line. Always appreciate the call from Zach. Appreciate everyone who calls in to give their thoughts. We got more people to get to here. Let's get to JD. JD, what's up, man?
How's it going, Zach?
It's all right. I don't know. I'll ask you first question. You know, I put this in the poll, and I think everybody, I'm in line with what the majority of people on the votes have said here. It's kind of gone a little bit more balanced. I gave 3 options. Some of the callers have said different things. People in the chat have disagreed with me. People in the chat have agreed with me very much. So it's kind of been all over, but I'll give you the first question here tonight, JD. Did you think that the Maple Leafs lacked effort tonight? Do you feel this was a poor effort game from Toronto?
Well, I think you made a little bit of a mistake with the poll because there should have been 2. I think it was a combination of both. I think the effort was mediocre and the execution was shit.
Okay, I think that's fair. Yep.
Yeah, I've seen better efforts. I mean, it looked to me like they showed up for a half a period out of the whole game. First period I thought was junk. Second period, you could toss away 2. Half of the third, but it was too little too late.
Yeah, I think the first 5 minutes, they were really good. And then to your point, or like 4 minutes, whatever it was, until the Benoit penalty. And then to your point, they go to the PK, and I think it was 35 seconds or 45 seconds into that PK, they give up the goal. And from that point, it was 15 minutes, remaining in the first period. Done. Like from then on, it was cooked. I think that's a pretty fair assessment, though, in terms of execution and effort-wise. There has been better effort. So I'm not trying to say they had a great effort tonight. I just more so am saying, hey, we've seen this team with lousy efforts. I don't think that was that. I think that this was that's pretty fair. That's a good answer. Mediocre effort, terrible execution. The execution was so bad that it just killed them. Where like that effort was just not there to make up for some of the mistakes. And you know, like the one that I can't like get out of my head is the Jake McCabe pass to Bobby McMahon that gets missed. And then they turn around and come the other way, and it's Faber fires it around Kaprizov to Zook backdoor to Hartman comes out of front. Could have had that one for Wall, maybe, doesn't, and you're down 2-0 in the first period. And it's like, well, now what? Because that's a team on the other side that they're going to make it really difficult for you to get through and come back in a game.
Yeah, Minnesota has a great team.
Yep.
Some people look past them, but yeah, they are solid top to bottom. And when they come and they've got their A game, they're a really hard team to beat. I mean, they're not the Avalanche, but hey, if you look past them like a Winnipeg or a Vancouver or something like that, you've basically it's a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
But yeah, tonight, I mean, a couple of the big things. I obviously Wall didn't have the best game. I mean, a couple of things I got to say too. People in the chat must have some traumatic head injuries or something like that, so we'll give him a pass. But I saw some insane shit in there about we got to get rid of Wall. He's a fucking bum. Trade. One guy said trade tree or fire tree living immediately, which I think is ridiculous. It's hilarious when you go on a 10 game heater, and it's primarily because of the stuff that Tree did in the offseason, the additions that he made, yeah, how he beefed up this team. He filled a lot of gaps. He did some great work, and that's why we were able to go on the heater. And you do one or two dud games out of 15, and guys are saying to fire the GM and to get rid of Wall and stuff like that. Guys, the guys saying that shit, you got to give your head a fucking shake. And I'm really glad you guys aren't GMing the team because we'd be like, for however many games we fucking played this year.
Look, Tree Living has made some mistakes. I'm not going to pretend he hasn't. I think that the trade for Brandon Carlo was too expensive, but I think it was the right guy to get. I think that the trade for Lawton is evening out over time here as this season goes on, but still, it was expensive, and it didn't pay off in the first playoff run that you went to. I went in. He didn't perform the way you should have. But I do think he's made some good moves, and over the last couple of weeks, they've really started to show up and play the way you expected them to. There's been games and wins that they've had where you go, yes, this is what it was supposed to be the entire time. So, I mean, look, Tree Living, I'm not going to say that he's done an amazing job, but I'm also not going to dump on him and say he needs to be fired. I think we'll see how this thing goes again as we get to the trade deadline and see if he makes any other moves and what those moves are and what MLSE allows him to do. It'll be interesting to see over the next stretch. The Wall thing here quickly. And I'm not saying this is you. I just want to make sure this is clear to the people in the chat because I see some of the same comments. First of all, when I'm saying this stuff about Wall, I'm not scapegoating the guy. That's not my intention. I'm not trying to dump on him or say he's awful or run him out of town or anything like that. The points of the postgame show is we come on here and we react to what just happened in these games. That's where I think it's ridiculous that people say, hey, you're too hard on these guys, blah, blah, blah. Well, they're paid millions of dollars. I think they're pretty fairly compensated. Joseph Woll is supposed to be the starting goaltender right now in Toronto on a team that's supposed to be. You can say that and argue as much as you want, but they're supposed to be contending. They're supposed to be a playoff team. They're supposed to be a team that you're expecting to be making pushes for Stanley Cups. And when you have that, there comes pressure with that. And unfortunately, right now, there's a whole lot more pressure that's turned up on the guy because the team put themselves in a hole and they're having to climb back out of it right now. They need to be winning games. And unfortunately, when your goaltending falters the way it has with Joseph Woll in the last couple of games, it's tough for the team to battle through. I don't think that they win this game in particular tonight if Joseph Woll is that much better, but it gives them a chance. I look at the Vegas game. That's one that I think if Joseph Woll has a better night than what he did, they do hang on to win that game. The team fell apart in front of him. The team played poorly. The team let off the gas and let Vegas back into it. They made some poor mistakes. They kind of played on their heels, and they let Vegas gain some momentum. But Joseph Woll really didn't help them get through that one the way that you would expect them to. And I saw comments earlier being like, that's the problem with this team. If the goaltending's not superb, you lose. It's like, no, that's not the case. But if your goaltender puts up an 818, or if your goaltender, like what Joseph Woll did tonight, puts up an 828, it makes it a whole lot harder for the team. They didn't do enough in front, but Joseph Woll could be better. He needed to be better. And I think he will be better ultimately. It hasn't been his week. And it just comes at an unfortunate time because you're looking at some of these games getting bunched up. You don't want to let it get away from you when you look at Boston and Buffalo, or the Penguins or the Capitals who just find ways to pick up points and win games. You don't want to get lost in these Eastern Conference. At bare minimum, you want to stay afloat. And a couple times when you have a goaltender show up like that, it can make it a little difficult on you. So that's the one thing I wanted to just kind of say about Joseph Woll and his performance tonight and even into the Vegas game. And it was acknowledged by Joseph Woll as well by in the media after the game and by Craig Berube. So it's not unique to this post game where we're the only ones saying anything. The guy who let in the goals also came out and said it's been tough.
Exactly, and I'm sure he probably would have liked one or two of those back, but
yeah,
I mean, we gotta realize too. I mean, I realize like myself and probably just about everybody in the chat and yourself as well. Like we're an extremely passionate fan base, and we're maybe a little more skeptical, a little harder on the boys than a lot of the other fan bases would be. But we also got to realize that these guys are human beings. They do have lives and they do have shit going on too. You got good days and bad days. I know myself. You know, if I'm not having the best life type thing, the day at work, it's a little bit harder. You're a little off. You can fuck things up. So not only that, but it's not just him. It's the guys in front of him. Like, look at the defense. The defense has been piss poor fucking porous lately. And like tonight, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I would say the only guy on the ice, the only D on the ice tonight that was pretty goddamn rock solid would be OEL. I think everybody else had deficiencies, even Stetcher, which I really beginning to love. I mean, not the greatest game, but look, horrible penalty for Benoit. McCabe out of position on a couple of Riley. We won't even go to it. We know Riley's a fucking pylon. So, but I mean, yeah, there's always five guys in front of your goaltender to blame for any given situation. If the puck gets to him, you had 5 opportunities to stop it from getting to him. Ultimately, he's the guy that's got to make sure it doesn't get in the net. But he's a human being, and yeah, he just didn't have his best night. That's all.
Yeah, and it's a good point all the way around. I mean, the defense has not been good lately, or as good as it was lately. It's been porous. I think some of that comes with, you look at Jake McCabe in particular, he's really struggled over the last little while. Some of that, I believe, personally comes with not playing with Stetcher right now, which I think is a byproduct of Carlo coming back and Morgan Riley now playing with Carlo and not having anywhere else to go in the lineup, because you're not trying, like before you were putting OEL in a top pairing, Jake McCabe and Stetcher in a second pairing, and then kind of playing it out like that. Now you're putting yourself in a position where Riley is playing with Carlo. Carlo is a good defenseman. I actually think Carlo's been playing well. I know that their pairing hasn't been unbelievable, but I think a lot of that comes with him being weighed down by Morgan Riley. And then you have McCabe, who's now playing with OEL, who OEL is playing good, but I just don't know if it's like the perfect fit for McCabe. And then you go to a pairing of Stetcher and Benoit, and then it's like, okay, that one's not as reliable. It hurts you all the way around where you just don't have combinations. And I think some of it just starts with Morgan Riley is a guy that you can't fit elsewhere. But the defense breaking down in front definitely makes it harder on the goaltender. The goaltender is not hiding some of those mistakes the same way he was. I don't even know, like early on in the season. I think the last couple of weeks he's not been hiding mistakes the same way because I think the team has been playing so much better. They've been limiting that. But when it kind of dips a little bit, now he's all of a sudden not making those saves that you would expect or hope from him. So it definitely a frustrating one, JD.
Yeah, for sure, buddy. I'm not going to stay on here much longer because I know you got other callers to get to. Final point I'd like to make is just a little bit of a positive. And I'm sure if Prague is in there eavesdropping, he'll love this. But I got to give Domi some credit because he's been deficient in areas. I thought in the last little while I've seen some improvements and some bright little spots from him. Some of the sauce passes, some of the setups he's made, I thought were very pretty, very creative. And Matthews tonight. That goal, that semi-breakaway goal, and the finish on it. He's got his hands back. He's got his finish back. He's got some legs under him. I'm seeing things that give me a lot of hope, at least for the captain, just taking steps in the right direction and seeming to him at least being back.
Yeah, I would agree. So I will agree with you fully on the Matthews stuff. That's the other thing to me, which is going to sound a little bit dumb maybe here, but that's where it's a game like this where you kind of do realize Matthews is back, because was this his best game? No. Could he have been better? Yep, for sure. And he still walks away with a goal. He's got 11 in his last 12. Just continues to produce, just continues to score goals. I think that was now 25 on the season for him. And it's like, I know that it's just a meaningless goal in the grand scheme of things where it makes it 5-3 and it's too little too late. But to see him score not just a goal in this, but the way he did, it's like, okay, the guy is back. And I think big picture, that's a good sign for you, because in a game like this, did it matter? No. But on Wednesday against Detroit, knowing he's playing this way, knowing he has that. Also, another thing, too, is the confidence. How many times this year have we seen him drive net front? I can't even remember what game it was, but it was recently over the last week stretch where he comes down the wall, drives past the defender, gets back out across, goes across the goaltender and tucks past them. If anybody in the chat remembers what game that was, let me know. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but I can envision him making that play where he goes across and buries. This one here tonight, he doesn't score on it, but I think it was in the first or the second period maybe. He beats the defender out wide, drives down low, cuts across, goes to the front of the net. He gets pushed into the goaltender and he smokes the crossbar, but like the confidence to do that, I think comes with him knowing his body's going to respond. He's capable of doing that, and just him being hot right now. So full marks to Auston Matthews. The Max Domi thing, credit to him. He's been playing a lot better offensively. He's finding a groove with Matthews in the offensive zone. The problems that I have with him, and it's more on him, but part on the other guys on the ice and maybe he gets put out there with, but he needs to have guys who are going to make up for other areas of the ice for him. Like, he is prone to the ridiculous pass, much like Mitch Marner was, but he just has less ability than Mitch Marner did. But he will make that forced cross-ice, knee-high saucer pass to somebody backdoor where it's like, dude, there was 7 guys between you and that player. Why is that the pass? Because if it gets there, it's beautiful, and it's on the highlight reels tomorrow morning. But if it doesn't, you've got 4 guys on Minnesota going the other way on an odd man rush. You've got 4 guys going up the ice in transition, making some of the plays inside at his own zone, trying to make passes or force passes. Sometimes can just be a little bit simpler. I respect the confidence, but sometimes it's like, dude, you got to have some situational awareness. Like, this doesn't work. You can't do that there. And then the other thing, which will lead back to the points about the guys on the ice with him, is defensively, he is deficient. He's not reliable defensively. Sometimes if they get trapped out there or they're out for a long shift, he can get caught in transition. He can get caught puck watching, and then he can get skated around a little bit too easily in the defensive zone, not for a lack of effort or intensity, but just because he loses himself in the D zone, loses an assignment, loses positioning, whatever, and then it can burn the team where they've now got an onslaught coming against them, and it's like you've got a guy out there who kind of loses his head a little bit, so you need other guys with him who can make up for his defensive deficiencies. But yes, I mean, all in all, his play better, offensively, contributing more, so kudos to him for stepping up here on that first line with Auston Matthews, for sure.
Yeah, and just one quick last thing that I thought of too, before I go, and then I'm going to jump off here, is a point that was made earlier. Ny's coming back tonight. We know Ny's been struggling with some injuries and stuff like that. He's been back and forth, and the Leafs habitually seem to make this mistake of letting guys rush back when they're not at 100%. And in my eyes, if you've got a guy like Ny's that's at 50%, what he's going to be able to contribute to the team is far less than what a Marley, say, would brought up at 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't disagree. I think that there's ways that you can get through it and give guys rest right now, or take guys out of the lineup to give them like a jump to get them going. Riley, or taking Nyes out and giving him time or whatever. But my thing, JD, is also like Berube has, I still think he's a good coach, and he's gotten a lot better in terms of making adjustments this season. But then you throw in a guy like Quillen into your lineup, and then you look at his minutes at the end of the night, and Berube's only played him 7. And I'm like, well, why? Like, what the fuck? Why? I get that he's got his guys he's relying upon, but my problem with him bringing up guys from the Marlies and stuff is that he won't trust them as much. He won't play them, and I kind of get it because some of it is his job is on the line. Like, he needs to win games. He can't be, like, testing guys out and taking risks with it, but
Yeah, and
I do understand your point.
Yeah, that's when I think, I mean, you can intelligently shuffle guys up the line a little higher and then have a guy like Quillen or whatnot come and play on one of the bottom six pairings. And then, I mean, if for nothing else, just not to aggravate an injury. I mean, it seems to me it's playing short term mentality, playing checkers rather than chess. I'd much rather personally see a guy like, and I love Nyes. He's one of my favorite players on the team. I love his heart. I just don't want to see a guy like that 2 years from now just being worthless and useless because they kept bringing him back too early, and now he's got something chronic that's unfixable. I mean, I'd much rather see them give the guy another 3 games out or something like that, even 2, just enough to rest and feel a little bit better so that it's not a permanent chronic thing.
Yes, agreed with you there. And I mean, I said it a couple times, so I'm not going to rehash it, but it's a good point by you. It's just like maybe there's times where you can chip away at games in the season and do so without guys in your lineup like a Matthew Nyes. You know, I'm not saying that just based on his performance tonight, but before the game, it looked more like he was not going to play than he was. He's obviously a dog. He wants to play. He's decided to play through this injury himself. But maybe tonight's a night where it's like, dude, you're banged up to the point that you're not taking morning skate and you're contemplating not going. Let's get through this one tonight and have you better for Wednesday. Let's get through this one tonight and have you better long term and give you a real hard push until the Olympics. And now maybe his mindset is like, there's only 9 games until the Olympics. I'm going to fucking battle through, which I commend him for. But at the same time, maybe you can like load manage the guy a little bit, because does putting Scott Laughton in your second line right wing make you like automatically lose this game tonight if Nyes is in the press box? I don't think so personally. You lost it anyways with the guy in, so I don't know.
Well, that's all I got, Zach. Thanks for
JD.
having me on again, and we'll catch you guys probably the next game.
Sounds good, JD. Appreciate it as always, buddy. I'll see you on Wednesday.
Have a good night, guys.
There you go. Have a good night, JD. I love the recurring callers here. Anybody who's new and wants to call in, you're always welcome, but it is fun to hear people just call in consistently show after show and hear what everybody's got to say. Reminder here quickly, 4 likes away from getting 100. That will mean we get to the next the next smelling salts here on the postgame show. We also have super chats that are rolling in over. We're trying to raise up to about $100 here on the postgame show. We've got a ways to go tonight, but still chipping away at it. This super chat comes in from Maxentius Decimus. Max says, oh shit, I already read that one. I didn't mark it off. Zach Green with the super chat. He says, ran out of Zimbabwe's. L is my fault. Damn, Zach. Damn. Keep liking, keep subscribing here. Let's get to our next caller here on the line. Let's go to Jamie Richardson. Jamie, what's up tonight? How you doing?
I'm all right. I've been a fan since the 80s, so I wanted to bring up how the quietness in the arena that a lot of people talk about. I watched a game on YouTube from 1980 before my time, and it was quiet then also. It's just, I don't know why it is, but it seems like it's always been quiet at home. I know other places, if you wore, if you wore a Leafs jersey in Boston, you'd probably get a beer dumped over your head kind of thing. It's just, it's just always been quieter.
I don't know why. Jamie, you just speak to from experience. You've had it a whole lot longer in your life. I don't know. It's a weird situation. I think part of it is that they need something to cheer for. I think part of it is also that the people in the building are not necessarily conducive to the loud and rowdy type. Like, I think if you go to a Flyers game, I think if you go to a Bruins game, if you go to a Panthers game right now, you're probably going to deal with more, and I say this in the most respectful way possible, but like middle class people, like people who can afford the tickets, people who can afford to be there. And then on top of that, people who can afford the experience. And I think that goes all the way through to, you know, you go to a game, you're not worried about yelling and screaming and having people telling you to sit down, because if you go to one now and you pay that much money, the people around you are going to say, hey, shut up, sit down, I want to watch the game, because everyone there is like, they're on business and they're on meetings and they're with work. And so they're not going to get up and go nuts. You know, that atmosphere is kind of lost a little bit. And then the other thing, and I'm not trying to like say that this is the solution or the be all end all, but like it costs you $1 billion to get into the arena. And then when you get in, you want to buy beers, you want to drink and get a rowdy atmosphere. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg to get beers. Like, you go get a beer and it costs $20 for a can. Okay, now you want to go back again. If you have 5, you're running yourself up over $100 with tax and tip and everything coming into it. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Economics tonight, but at the end of the day, you spend that much to go to the game. Now you're going to have to spend that much more to have all of the things that come with it, the food there. You want to go for dinner before, you want to go for dinner after, you want to get drinks at the game. It's a crazy night for you to do so, and it's just not conducive to that. I think if you go to games around the NHL and to different cities and stuff, you're dealing with much different prices to get in the door. You're not dealing with as much of a corporate atmosphere in the lower bowls, which I think is the place where it starts from. And then on top of that, you're just not getting the same experience from a, like, quite honestly, like a drunk, rowdy crowd. Like, you just don't get that. You don't get that from the people to the same extent here. And I think that that's a contributing factor. I don't know if it's all of it, because I do agree with the chat. A lot of times they do need the team to give them something to cheer for, but it's just never going to get rowdy. They could get loud, but they're not going to get rowdy. And I think that that's a problem with the arena, which I don't know. You want to hear my idea, Jamie? You've been around, so I'll throw an idea to you. You tell me if you like this, okay?
All right.
So my idea is that the Leafs, either in a section behind the opposing team's net or behind the opposing team's bench, need to make it the Leafs fan zone. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with European soccer or with TFC.
Yeah.
But they have I don't know what they're called at TFC, but it's like the supporters group who gets the one end behind, and they wave flags and they bang drums and they fire off red smoke and stuff during the games.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same, but I think that if they opened up a fan section where it's just affordable tickets for Leafs fans to get in, and it's only Leafs fans, and they could find a way to do that where, like, you can't resell on a third party, because that is an option that people can do.
Well, there's a way to do.
Yeah, like if you look at artists do that and stuff, they open things up where they open their tickets and you can't resell them on an app for higher than a certain price. If you could do that in a certain section, I think it bare minimum starts it. It starts the conversation of people getting in for a cheaper price. I don't know what the reasonable cost is. I don't know if it's $50. I don't know if it's $75. I don't even know. Maybe it's $100. But even at that, to sit in the lower bowl in a section behind the net or behind the bench, I think changes the fan atmosphere and changes the look and the vibe of the arena. I think you go in that, and it's like $100, capped at $100. You can't resell the tickets for more than $100. It's first come, first serve on those tickets in terms of being able to get in the queue and buy them. But if you get into that and you can get in that section, I personally think it gets the arena a whole lot louder and it gets them rowdier, because if you can get one section doing it, I think it can spread, and I think you can start to get other people around the arena to have the confidence to do so, because the people in the section beside, maybe they decide, hey, you know what, I'll get up on my feet and get a little bit louder now. And then the guy beside him says, okay, I'll get up on my feet and get a little bit louder now too. So I don't know. That's just my idea. It may not be practical, but it works really well at soccer games. It works really well in Europe. You look at European hockey games, they seem to have success in terms of their in-arena atmosphere and environment. So that's just my lofty idea, but that's kind of what I think would maybe make sense.
Yeah, if you did 300 tickets, but have to buy them at the box office at the day of the game, and you get a wristband instead of a ticket, so you have to be there. You can't resell it, right? 2 hours before game time, 300 or 500 seats are available at $100 a piece.
Yeah.
Right down behind a goal. Yeah. Start going. Yeah. I mean,
I think it would be cool. I think it would be a cool thing to do, and I think it would be unique. And I think there's no need to see it tested out anywhere else, because I think if people get in and they do that, they're going to spend money on all the other things in the arena, and I think it just also changes the atmosphere. Right now, you're a laughing stock around the NHL for what that arena sounds like, and they make no effort to change it other than. And my sister is probably going to kill me because I think it's known. She works, I've told this before, she works on in-game entertainment for the Leafs. They try to make the in-game entertainment better and get people more involved and get people louder and cheering and all that stuff. But that can only go so far. It's also the people that are in there that are dependent on, no matter what you do as a staff, which is kind of unfortunate for them and for my sister who's working on that. But it can only go so far. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Now, do you think the players would benefit from a louder crowd?
I think so, because I think they feel the vibe of it. They talked about what it was like on Saturday against Winnipeg in there, where it was a lot of Jets fans, but it was also a lot of Leafs fans, and they were able to go back and forth, and they were able to kind of battle in the stands, and they were able to get behind the Leafs, and they talked about what it was like to play in that environment where it was loud and it was rowdy, and how much life and excitement that gave them. You saw Matthews giving it back to the fan base after they won, where he's going like this to the crowd down the tunnel. You saw Scott Lawton doing the cry face at fans behind the bench. These guys, they do feed off of it, and I think that if things get a little quiet in the arena, it can be easy for them to get quiet in their play and their intensity. Obviously, again, they have to bring some of it as well to get the crowd into it, but I think the crowd gets sucked out, or the team's energy can kind of dwindle based on that, and then the crowd gets sucked out of it because it doesn't happen back the other way. Yeah,
no, we have a lot of people in the chat. I don't think that they've been fans as long as I have, but some possibly. I've been a fan for 45 years, something, and I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs. You can't go fire the GM or the coach after every bad couple of games because you run out of coach. Yeah, it's been a long battle, but I think that they're going to do it. I just think it's a year they have injuries. That's not helping. I mean, if you look at the Vegas game, I think Nylander had 2 minutes on ice, and he had a goal and an assist, and then he's hurt again.
Yeah. No, and I know.
And the Nyes thing, I think maybe you hit him these next 8 games, then he gets the Olympic break, and then you have him back after the Olympic break. But is it going to matter? That's the question, You need all hands on deck now.
Yeah, and I think he's going to go play in the Olympics as well. He's not going to miss the Nylander, that is. And then Nyes, I think, obviously the break's going to be good for everybody, but it's going to be good for every team around the NHL as well, because everyone's dealing with injuries, everyone's dealing with fatigue. It's just unfortunate right now because you're kind of battling through. Jamie, you got anything else for me here tonight?
I think that's it, yeah.
All right, buddy. I appreciate the call. Thank you for providing some insight. Looking forward to the next call.
All right.
All right, there you go. Jamie Richardson on the postgame show. Appreciate that. With that, we got one more caller here that we're going to get to in 1 second. Just before we get to the final caller here tonight, quick reminder to people, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We hit 100 likes here on the postgame show, so that means the second time we do the smelling salts. So here are the smelling salts for you guys. Thank you for liking. There you go. There's the smelling salts. With that, let's get to Crave the Stats. Crave the Stats is a presentation of Uber Eats. Thank you to our friends at Uber Eats, as always, for sticking with us here on the postgame show. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app, from game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Every time the Leafs are playing at home, you can get these exclusive deals in Toronto only on Uber Eats. Firehouse Subs, the BOGO Brisket Hatcher, Kibo Sushi, the BOGO California Roll, Shelby Shawarma, the BOGO Traditional Wrap. BOGO, of course, is buy one, get one before, during, and after the game. Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Today's stats, just quickly running through the box score and seeing what we've got. Johnny T, 1 goal, -2. He did have 6 shots on goal. He played 17 minutes and 36 seconds of time on ice. 4 minutes and 35 seconds of that came on the power play for JT. Nick Waugh ends up with 12:25 tonight. He has an assist. Nick Robertson, 1 goal, 12:42. Bobby McMahon, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 3 hits. 0 takeaways, 0 giveaways. He had 15 shifts, 12 minutes and 23 seconds for Bobby. Matthews ends up playing 19:38, 4 minutes and 52 on the power play. 1 goal, 1 assist, -1 here. 1 shot on goal for AM34. Michelli, -2. Lorenz, -1. Lawton, -1. Nyes, -1. Nyes does have an assist on that power play goal to JT. Domi, -2. 1 assist for him, 14 minutes and 4 seconds of ice time. Calle Yarncroke, 1 shot on goal, no goals, no assists, even 11:30. Easton Cowan, 1 assist, +1, 12:43. On the defensive side of things, Simone Benoit, no goals, no assists, even 13 minutes and 50 seconds. He played the least of any defenseman here tonight. Second least was Troy Stetcher, no goals, no assists, -1. Morgan Riley, no goals, no assists, even on the night. 3 shots on goal, 23-18. That's the mind-boggling one. 5 minutes of that obviously comes on the power play. But Jake McCabe, 0-0, -1, 21-36, 3:48 on the penalty kill. OEL, 0-0, even 3 shots on goal, 19-32. Carlo, I'm reading everybody, but I think this is kind of one of those games where it's like actually pretty fair to kind of give everyone context of how everyone did. Carlo, no goals, no assists, -2, 19 minutes. Goaltending-wise, Joseph Woll faced 29 shots. He made 24 saves. He let in 5 goals. He had an .828 save percentage. Dennis Hildeby faced 8 shots. He had 8 saves and finishes with no goals against. That's your stat lines for tonight. Just quickly, before I get to the last caller, the one point I want to make about the stats, just to make these actually worth something to people. Why does the third line only play 12 minutes? Why does Nick Robertson play 12:42? Why does Nick Waugh play 12:25? Why does Easton Cowan play 12:43? I know that this isn't a night where other guys run away with minutes, and I know that there was a lot of power play time. You know, I talked about here 4:35 for JT, 4:52 for Matthews and Michelli, 5 minutes for Nyes. The special teams made it a little more difficult, and Lorenz and Lawton playing 3:40 and 3:24 on the PK makes it difficult. But, like, I thought the third line was better than your second line tonight at 5-on-5. I thought that we knew, this isn't even a thought, we knew Nyes was struggling with injury. We knew Nyes was battling through something. I don't think he looked 100%. I got no problem giving him as much power play time as you did, but why is there not an effort to find the third line more minutes in this game? I thought they looked really good. They're coming off a game against Winnipeg where they looked really good. Easton Cowan looked really good in that one. they score a goal here tonight, and it comes from hard work and hustle and going to the front of the net and winning battles. Why was there not more of an effort throughout the course of this night to give them more time on ice? That's what I just don't understand. And it was a game in which you were lacking an ability to possess the puck. And Easton Cowan did make some dumb decisions here, but I think some of those are just rookie mistakes, like some of the passes where he's trying to force something that results in a turnover and stuff. But when you talk about how the other lines were executing, I thought they were executing better and they had a lot of jump. So, like, it's not a night where, hey, the third line should have played 20 and why the hell weren't they out there and why weren't they doing this, that, and the other to get the third line out because they would have won this one. That's not what I'm trying to argue. It's just like, how come a line that was playing that well can't find more minutes in a game like this? How come you can't find more spots for them to go out and take advantage of situations, to go out and show that youthful energy they have and the speed that they have and come at the Minnesota Wild and counterattack the speed and the pace that they were bringing? Because the one thing where I disagree with people is saying that the Leafs are too old and slow. I don't agree with that. We saw them play a faster paced game, but you could see in the first period, you could see at times in the second, even at times in the third line would go and set a tempo and be like, we're going to play this pace. And the next lines that would come out would be able to kind of build off of that. They would be able to keep that pace, keep that momentum. Like, it got rolling. You could feel the energy coming through the team where the third line would go and do something. They would get up ice. They could move in transition. They could get into the offensive zone. They could start some type of cycle. And then it was just like, get them off quickly, get the next line out there. Okay, now the next line rolls. And then there wasn't that effort to keep them going. I know they are a third line, and you don't want to just overuse the minutes, but I just thought this was a game you could have done that and could have gone to them a little bit more. Just my opinion. I'm not talking about giving these guys 5 more minutes, but I didn't think that the second line was that great tonight, so why can't they spot 2-3 more minutes? Why can't the second line lose a minute or so? Why can't the fourth line lose a minute or so on 5-on-5 and get them more ice? And the other thing is the power play after the one they scored on kind of started to go downhill. Zone entries were a struggle. Well, okay, maybe slot them 30 more seconds to the second unit. Maybe give them like a little bit of a jolt into the game. I don't know. Interesting with the time allotment tonight. Keep liking. Let's try to get this thing to 150 likes before we wrap up. But with that, let's get to our final caller of the night. Let's welcome to the show a man who has not been on here in a while. Let's welcome in Prague. Prague, what's up?
Thank you, Zach. I really appreciate you. And again, I'm sorry for the last time. I was just having a really bad day. I really apologize. That was inappropriate of my hand. There's no excuse for that.
It's all good, and I said it when it was happening, and I'll say it now. I did not see what you were talking about. If I did, I would have.
Oh no, I know.
That's why the frustrations came out my side of being like, "Fuck you." I don't think that's fair for you to accuse me of this. We can move on from this now, but I just want to make sure it's clear from my side. I'm not condoning anything that you said happened. I'm not denying that it happened, but I also can't sit here and tell you that I saw it and let it happen. I didn't see it happen. No. I would have stopped it if it did.
I think I was just getting because of all the other stuff I was dealing with.
That's fair. I understand, but
I didn't mean to accuse you, but I was just like, you know,
I understand. Like, we're good. We can move on.
I want to say that. Did you notice? I want to ask you because I want to get. I always like different people's opinions, right? Even if I completely vehemently disagree.
Yeah.
Did you notice again? This is the second time in a week that when they got a power play, I think it was the one that the high stick on John Tavares.
Mm-hmm.
John Tavares had already been out there for like 45 seconds. Michelli had been already out there for like a minute and a half. And then they played them a minute and a half instead of letting the second unit go and rest like the first unit at least 30 seconds something to give them a breather. And that's why the second power play got nothing.
Yes, I did notice that. And I think it's fair to start them. I don't have a problem starting them on the power play. Like, you had Matthews coming out fresh. You want him on that first one. You want to try to take advantage of the power play in the first 2 minutes there, even though it's a 4. But they scored. That to me is an automatic. Let's go to the second unit. Let's give them 45 seconds here. Get the first unit off the ice. Give them a break. I thought that the first unit was good. Or the second unit was good. Excuse me. I thought that they were moving the puck quickly. I thought they were moving their feet well. I thought they were creating chances. So yeah, I agree with you. I personally would have sent out that second unit, and especially given the context of what you just brought up, where JT's the one who drew the penalty. Like by nature, he was out there when the fucking penalty was taken. He started that. Why couldn't you have then broken it up and gone to the second unit, given them 30, 40 seconds, and then gone to the next unit again? I know that when you look at it, the first unit or the first power play gets taken off, so you're down to 2 minutes. But like, you got one goal. You have 2 minutes to work with. Start the second unit, give the first unit a break, and then let's try this again.
Yeah, like this comes to what you were just speaking about. The shift allocation, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why they would have JT there at the end of the game when you have Lawton. I don't know why Lawton doesn't get extra minutes when he's on having a good day. I don't know why. Like, yes, tonight the third line was playing really well. There were some junior mistakes from Cowan, but that's expected. So, because he's always trying, because you're in junior, you're the man, and I want him to be the man, right? So, but
yep,
it's and that's the only reason I always say AHL for a year. But like, that's my disagreement with you. That's fine. But like, I just don't get this. I don't understand the time allocation to shifts, because like, Nyes has been hurt, and if they don't know Nyes is hurt, I don't know who in that organization watches hockey or knows anything about hockey.
They know. I mean, I will just say that. They know that he's hurt. He said he's hurt. Berube said he's hurt. Like, they know he's hurt. It's not a secret that he's hurt. I know. They all know that. Everybody knows that.
And yes, he's gotten points, but very few are the nice kind of points that we expect, especially at this time of year, right? And
yep.
So I don't, like your previous caller, was it Scott or Zach or whatever, Zach G or whatever? They were saying they're worried about injury. If you watch I was making a comment about the Prime episode first season about the playoffs. I forget what it's called, playoff something, whatever. And they had Philip Forsberg. He said he just had a little injury, like a little bruise. I'm a doctor, but I also know this. And they said hockey players, goalies, doesn't matter what, any sport, anything. Even if you're like learning to become a surgeon, you even if you're exhausted and you shouldn't be there, you're still gonna go, because that's what, like, you want to show that you care about your team, you care about the people, you could whatever. But at a certain point, you need to realize you need to shut it down. And I think when they know the original injury and he got re-injured in terms of Nylander, and it's that fragile, that a little thing like a celebration like that could re-injure it. I don't even understand how we have such a big medical staff and who's running it and who's telling them what to do, because that's basically, you're going to lose your license if that's what you're doing, because I'm pretty sure it's just the Leafs management telling them what to do, because I just don't see how you could have let that, because we keep on getting injuries, but we're not even that big an injury, because there's lots of teams that have lost. Like Braden Point is out again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really impressed by the wins that we've had. So I think, Scott, your mic is on, and you're in your video. Sorry.
If you're waiting in the call, just mute yourself there. If you're waiting, just mute yourself.
Sorry. I hear like a reverb.
Yeah,
Scott?
sorry. Scott, if you can just mute yourself.
Scott,
anyways, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Go
Thank you,
ahead,
Scott.
Prague.
Anyway, so it just at what point do you realize that okay, our depth in terms of forwards is getting better, but playing Myers and Benoit, Myers with Riley, Myers with Benoit, or playing OEL on his right side when he's a left shot D, especially at this age. Whenever you see OEL doing something stupid, it's because he's playing on his right side. He was able to do it with Florida when they were injured, but that's just a stupidity. Regardless of how bad Matt Benning is, he's played like a few hundred games of an NHL. I'm saying, what is the idea of not playing the NHL veterans that you have, or even the young youth? Like, sit Riley down for a game, or just like I'm just so frustrated because, like, what you saw tonight, like even against Colorado, I was not that impressed because it was the backup goalie on the second night of a night tonight. I was impressed to a certain extent because it was a fun game, but our defense is like, who would you keep? You're hilarious. But like, at what point do you realize we can't compete with any of these teams? Like, name a team, whether they have a pick, whether someone they drafted and developed. We have the worst defense ever drafted and developed. Like, you look at the Wild. Who do they have? Brodin. Who's their captain? Right? Who did they trade for? With LA, they got Faber. Right?
Yeah.
And now Quinn Hughes. Who do we trade for? Luke Shen and Lyubushkin, who on a good team would not even be playing unless there's like 4 injuries.
Personally, I didn't have a problem with the Shen one. I think it was cheap enough, and I thought he played well when he got here. He was a good partner to Morgan Riley. So I'll push back there, and I don't think it was an expensive trade. Lyubushkin, yeah, I agree with you. I didn't love the trade at the time, and then I didn't love when they brought him back again. So I don't disagree. I don't.
No, like I liked him, but the thing is, how many times do you have to get a partner for Riley or a player before you realize he is not the player you think he is?
Yeah, I agree. I said that. Yeah, I agree.
No, but like, sorry, I'm just sending him.
Hey, you're either on the call, Prague, or you're in the chat. Come on.
No. I'm trying to tell Scott, like, we can hear him burping and whatever, farting or whatever he's doing. Sorry. Because I don't know. Anyways, no, but like, we need management that is forward thinking. Like, I actually like some of the, like, I listen to podcasts from different teams whenever I can. I love the Vancouver podcast from Thomas Strands, because if you think about it, yes, in 12 years, they've only won 2 series and only been in the playoffs twice. But what have the Leafs done in those 12 years? Actually, they've won 3 series. They won the play-in. Right? So, okay. And they were closer than us against Edmonton in Game 7 of the second round series. They were, if Brock Besser was not injured, a lot of people even in Edmonton were thinking they might win. So even a team that is in the mushy middle finally realizes after 12 years of stupidity, or actually 15, that you can't be just trading away picks for older players to make things faster.
I think that was a little bit forced upon them more than it was with them realizing that, though. Like, that was not necessarily them coming to that conclusion and then deciding to do that. That was them realizing we have to. Like, they had to deal with the JT Miller, Elias Pettersson situation. They moved on from JT Miller. They had to deal with the Quinn Hughes one because he said he wasn't going to resign. So, like, no,
but they had to. But the thing is, like, they had all these picks, You've heard of Dylan Gunther. They traded for OEL, right? We've done similar things. I look at us as the mirror of the Canucks, right? Because we traded early because we had a couple good, 2, 3 good young players. We didn't get a proper defense. We didn't develop the other young players. And no matter who we got, no matter how much I loved them, we always sped up the trade market, like from the Phil Kessel trade. Like I can go decades, but I'm saying Phil Kessel, we traded 2 firsts and a second. We traded for a goalie when we could have had a first overall pick.
Yeah,
the year
I mean,
before.
look, I'm just gonna cut you off. Like, we rehash this every time you call in, Prague. What's the point about the team now? Like, I want to get to the team now. I want to talk about what's happening now because I get what you're saying about the history of this team, but we've had this conversation every time you call in.
Okay, so then my point, my opinion, of course, anybody can be wrong, whatever, is we are right now struggling to make sure we're not out of a playoff spot and potentially give a sixth overall pick to Boston.
Yeah, which I don't think will happen because I think they're too good for that to happen, but still.
Have you seen the defense? Please, it's the Leafs. Remember, we traded, like, there was no reason to trade. We could have eaten half of the contract. Like, Seth Jarvis should be on this team. Like, all these different things that are ridiculous, right? Rickard Rakell was one of our picks. John Gibson, the goalie, one of our picks. We went for truculence. They want grit. They want toughness. Well, when you talk about trading for grit and toughness, who did the Florida Panthers trade for last year? Marchand and Seth Jones.
Yeah, I know you're talking about like the Brian Burke era of Maple Leafs though, and then
I'm talking about this era. I'm talking about every era. But I'm saying right now, I think we need to retool, and we have to realize let Knives get healthy, whether that takes a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever it is, because I want him on the team. He's going to be a future captain. He should be. But I want him to be healthy. I don't want him to be having injuries that are just recurrent because we're just too stupid. And we have coaches and GMs that are just caring about their job. This is not Berube hockey.
Okay.
Berube was scared, so he let the people. One of the things, the reason we started doing better, one, in the entire time until basically Christmas, December 23rd, he was changing lines 80,000 times. Nobody had a common partner, no common shift, right? Then he stuck to some lines. And what's happened? We find chemistry. We had Bobby McMahon, Waugh, and Joshua. Joshua gets injured. He switches it up. Finds out Bobby McMahon works with Domi and Matthews. When you have consistency and get practice, you can find chemistry and develop that chemistry. When you don't, what do you get? What we had in the beginning. But the thing is, and it was not even Sullivan who changed the power play because the power play started doing well the day he got hired. It was because of Newsy Lalonde changing it up. And then if you saw the comments of Berube, he didn't like how they were playing because they're playing east to west. But now he's just going with it because everything's
that never happened. He never said he didn't like how they were playing when they started winning like that.
Well, he did. Go watch he was like,
no,
okay, anyways, that's a different discussion. But that doesn't matter. But like my point is, at this point, I don't see, like, if you watch the other team, I watched Tampa just dismantle Dallas yesterday. Dismantle them.
Yes.
And that's a team that doesn't have Braden Point. Just got Vasilevsky back after 2 months. And doesn't have Hedman and a few other players. So they're using a 25-year-old as their top defenseman, a Brent, and 2 rookies who are better than most of our defensemen. So look, I'm saying they're like every other team allows the players to develop and to play, and also realizes like Washington did a 1-year retool. They traded for Sandin, and they got Ryan Leonard in that and also got Cole Hudson and uh, Ilya Protas, not Alexei Protas. So that's his older brother. So in that draft, and all they did was trade a couple players away, but that didn't destroy them. They're still doing well. They're still making the playoffs, and now they're stacked for the future.
Yeah.
Right? They
I
have
mean,
chance.
they're behind the Leafs right now, but
Yeah, but they got a lot of young rookies. They got a lot of injuries, just like because of the fresh schedule. But we're not like when we blame injuries, when we listen to the major media talking about what we need and all this other stuff. I'm not saying you. I'm saying like like we hear the same things, and they convince the Leaf fans that this is what. No, they're just doing trial balloons for whoever to get their hooks. But I'm just tired of doing the same thing. We're just spinning our wheels. So at this point, I love Lawton. But anyone who's a UFA and does not sign before the end of the Olympic break, trade their ass. If we can like recoup picks, prospects, something. Do something.
I don't disagree with you, but I just would leave this until the Olympics. Like, I think you need to get yourself to the Olympics and see where you're at. And then make a decision organizationally about the future and what you want to do and how you want to approach the rest of this season, the summer, and then into the next year. Like I think you've got 8 games and then a long runway to make decisions and sit down and have real conversations about what's going to happen in that month where you're off for the Olympics. There's a trade freeze. There's no hockey happening. You're going to get guys healthy again. You're going to get guys to sit down and take a break. Matthew Nyes can sit down. JT can refresh. Like, you're going to have a ton of guys there who can do that. I don't disagree with you with the idea of trading guys away, but like, the next 8 games are crucial to what I think that you should do for the rest of this season. And when I say that, I'm not talking about going and trading major pieces to go and bring guys in here, but I'm talking about like, do you want to add to this team in any way? Do you want to find any type of defenseman who can come in here and help out short term? Do you want to help? Do you want to find forwards that can help out and maybe guys who are on term and make those kinds of trades who can help you the rest of this season and into next year? I think that's all dependent on where you're at by the time you get to the Olympics. Because by the time you get to the Olympics, you're pretty close then to the trade deadline when you get back. And it at least gives you some type of barometer, because if you have a poor 8 games here leading into the Olympics, your ability to make the playoffs after the fact is going to be extremely shot. But if you have a good next 8 games, why would you fold this season? So like, I understand. I don't fully disagree. I don't really like disagree, honestly, with what you're saying in terms of like getting assets back and stuff. And this is an ongoing debate, what's happening this season. I just like, I would let this team work itself out until the Olympics. Like, that's my barometer, because typically it's Thanksgiving this season based on the parity in the East specifically and the NHL as a whole. I mean, I wouldn't look at it and say, blow this thing up right now. You could win 6 of your next 8 games. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying theoretically you could win 6 of your next 8 games and you could be comfortably sitting in a wild card spot. Why would you then go into the Olympics and blow it up? Or why would you make a trade now to get rid of pieces or to add pieces, not knowing how things will play out? Like, you don't have to do anything by the time you get to the Olympics for you to learn a whole lot about your team and where you sit in the standings, especially considering how tough some of the games are that you're having to play. You know, we talked about, okay, Minnesota, you lost this one here tonight. You've got Detroit, who's first or tied for first in the Atlantic Division right now, that you're going up against on Wednesday. You've got Vegas on Friday. You've got Colorado on Sunday. You have Buffalo shortly after that. Like, you have a stretch here that can determine the remainder of the season. Why not just let this thing play out? Like, that's where I stand on this. I'm not trying to say this team is a Stanley Cup team. I just am saying so much is open in the Eastern Conference, and I do believe that if you got to the playoffs, if you found a way in with the guys you have and the character you have in that room right now, how they're playing for each other and they're playing together, and the goaltending you can get from these guys on any given night, I think that you could get a run out of them. And I just wouldn't blow it away and give up on it as of right now. Like, that's just my personal opinion. I would let it get to the Olympics.
Okay, Zach, I partially agree and partially disagree because, okay, I think our forwards and our defense, despite the shitty management by Berube, right? He allowed what's his face Starler to play. Was it 13 of 16 games in the beginning, and then 8 of 9 for Wall when he came back from not having a whatever, and that's why they got injured. That's why Stolarz is still injured, even though he was here last year.
Well,
and his,
I don't. I
no, but
mean,
like I'm saying, like,
it's
I
hard
don't
because
trust
you're
the
making an
coaching.
assumption. Okay, sure, but I mean, you're making an assumption about the injuries, which I don't think is really like a fair thing to do. Like you're just assuming that he got injured because he played all those games. You don't know that. Like, it's the same thing with the Nylander situation with him getting injured the other day. I mean, I think some of it is just a freak accident. I think it's a freak situation that could have happened to anybody if they had gotten hurt at any given time. We don't know.
No, I'm not saying. No, but I mean, like,
he was playing so well when he did come back that it's like it didn't look like he was hampering anything. So that's just like it's speculation. But
but the thing
I
is,
don't know. Final point here, Prague. Final point.
Okay, so my point is, we've done the waiting game. We've done the trading game. We've done, like, we believed in this team to the point that we lost Mitch Marner for basically nothing. We got Wah, thank God, but like, he's a top line winger in this league. We got nothing. I look at Quinn Hughes. I look at Kiefer Sherwood. I look at all these other players that just got traded, and what did they get?
Yes, I understand,
Now,
but I mean the Mitch
No, but
Marner one is like
I don't trust this man. Like, here's the thing: the reason that, like, in my opinion, that Nashville, for example, the GM is so trash, is because he was a coach. So he was always thinking about game to game. Now we have a GM and a coach who only care about their job, right? So they'll do anything to make sure we get into the playoffs, because otherwise their job's gone, and maybe they won't get rehired. But is that the long-term benefit? Like, let's say the Leafs get in. Do you trust their defense to get you anywhere? Do you trust their coaching to do the right line changes? Do you trust, like, we've trusted these guys for decades, and we've gotten like we can't afford the tickets. We can't afford anything and our team is a mess. We have no prospects to speak of, and it's just like I don't know what to say. And also, last thing, have you guys noticed? Because I've noticed this for years. Whenever Riley, just a side point, Riley gets tired, like today in a power play or on a shift, he'll always shoot a muffin right into the chest of the goalie when there's nobody in front. But that's a side thing, because I've had a problem with Riley for like 2 years now. But like, why haven't they traded Riley yet? Why haven't they forced him? They forced other players in. I've seen other teams force other players to leave who were darlings. Not even Vegas. I'm saying other nothing teams. Right?
Yeah.
But like, and like, even injuries, like, if you think about it, Erik Karlsson had an injury for 2 years, and then he came back and had almost 100 points. But like, that's why I'd look at players who have injuries. Like, Järnkrok's not playing the best, but he is an NHL player, even if he's aging. I'd trade him even for peanuts, or just get rid of him. Trade him for freaking Dougie Hamilton, because they just want to get rid of him from all the podcasters, even their media, and even with their GM. They're sitting him down. They're not even letting him play another game this season. So, like, they just want to get rid of his contract. So, get the space by trading Riley. Get the space by...
I think that's counterintuitive to what you're saying, though, then. Like, you're talking about...
Counterintuitive is using him as another trade chip. Because there's lots of teams who want... No, but like... Sorry, what did you say, Zach? Or was that Scott?
No, I'm saying it's counterintuitive to get Dougie Hamilton if you are saying in particular here that the team is bad, retool, and then you're saying go out and get Dougie Hamilton.
No, Dougie Hamilton is not. Dougie Hamilton is a tradable asset. You could retain on him. You could just say, Dougie, whatever. Or you could use him as part, like, or you know what you do? Be a part of that trade where you retain like $2 million for the next 2 years and trade him to freaking Dallas or whatever team wants a right-handed shot.
Why?
So you get picks and players back that they need. Get a player that you want back.
But you just said that they're getting rid of him for nothing, so then you're going to take him on and trade him and retain for, like, you're saying the guy doesn't have value, but then you want to...
The thing is, there's a lot of teams that have space or that have players they want to get rid of. Be creative, right? Because one of the things that they were talking about, even in their...
All right, wrap the point up, Prague. Wrap the point up.
No. My last thing is, because he's owed so little for the next 2 years, right after he's paid whatever millions he's owed July 1st, he could walk away from the contract and then re-sign a contract with whoever. And that's there's creative solutions to everything. We just have to be creative and actually have balls for once. And I just don't believe this team has the management, the ownership, or the coaching capable to do anything. They don't hold them accountable. They hold everybody else except, they don't hold anybody accountable. Why is Riley playing? Why is Myers still here? Why is Benoit playing? So I don't see, when players play shitty for games in a row, sit them. But when the coach is shitty, what do? Oh, we're $1 billion we make billions every year, but we can't fire this guy. Why?
Yeah. All right, Prague. Thanks for the call here tonight.
Yeah. Thank you, and have a great night, eh? Good luck.
Thanks. You too. All right, there you go. Prague on the post game. Let's get to our final caller here. He's been waiting. I think he finally figured out how to get this done. Let's welcome Scott Dunlop. Scott, what's up?
Thank you very much. You know what? I love you, and I love you guys. Ray, Jay Rosehill, and Nick Alberga. I watch you guys all the time.
I appreciate that, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever tried. I actually wanted to just call on the phone.
I know. I was trying to figure out how to get that done for you, but I couldn't figure out a way to get the number in.
It doesn't matter. I'm here now anyway. And actually, this is nicer.
Yeah, this is good, eh?
Yeah, I like it better. So I just wanted to say, and actually, I pretty much forgot what I was going to say after all that. But I think that the Leafs are doing pretty good. I think the Leafs are doing well.
Yeah.
I think they had a really tough start to their road trip. All of the Eastern teams are in low altitude. They're all under 200 feet above sea level. Any team that went out to play those two games, Colorado and Utah, at mile high stadiums, would have a tough time.
Yeah,
almost any team would. So I think that the Leafs did great winning that first game in Colorado, and they had a tough time. The wheels came off the truck for the second game, and you can't really blame them. They blew their shit out on the first game.
I mean, I agree with you. It was a great game on Monday, and I think that it just kind of wore on them there a little bit in that one, where it's just, hey, we gave everything we had. We were at altitude. The second night was a scheduled loss, especially when you go into Utah playing the way you did, with the travel that you had to do and everything. It just wore on them. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you, man. I think this team's playing well right now.
Yeah, I think you have to give them a break on the Utah game. And Vegas, they were winning almost the whole game. And they lost it right at the last minute. Actually 7 seconds. And if they just hung on for that 7 seconds, everybody would be like, yay, we won. But, and then they just get shit on because they blew it at the end, the last 7 seconds. And then they played well in Winnipeg, came back. Tonight, I didn't think they were going to win tonight. Yeah. I really didn't think they were going to win because Minnesota's one of those three top teams in the West. The three really good teams in the West.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was a tough game. Even though they lost their whole second line, they still were a great team. I mean, they got Quinn Hughes on the back end. They got, what's his name, Kaprizov.
Yep.
And they're a good team. I mean, they're probably the three best teams in the West. Colorado and Dallas and Minnesota. They're the best.
I would say right now, Scott, they're probably the second best team because we're looking at how Colorado's playing. That Dallas is in a bit of a skid themselves right now. Like that Dallas team, 2-6-2 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. They're falling a little bit. They've fallen behind Dallas with this win by Minnesota here tonight. Like that's a really, really good team. I mean, the only thing that I say when I look at it is like, obviously, you don't want to just say, hey, that's a loss. You want to compete against everybody. So I think that this is one of those ones where it's like, yeah, you wish that this is closer and you don't want to go into it expecting a loss. But to lose, I don't think is like the end of the world. Like people here in the chat came in after the game and are like, shut it down, the season's over. I don't feel that way. The only thing that sucks is just it wasn't like if they were playing like they did in the Colorado game and they just happened to lose, it's a little more palatable. But to lose this way and go toe-to-toe, or to go toe-to-toe, it would be easier. But to lose this way, it's a little bit more frustrating.
I always find it, because I've been a Leaf fan. I was a Leaf fan since 1967. I sat at my daddy's knee eating salted raw onions, because that's the only snack we had. Watching the Leafs win the Stanley Cup in 1967. So I was a kid. And I've been a Leaf fan ever since. And I never thought it would be like 50 years until they won another cup. Maybe it'll be another 50 years. I don't know. But I've been a Leaf fan a long time. I've been through all the decades of, almost winning, almost, the Dougie Gilmour years when it was almost close. And I just, I really have a hard time when I look at the chat and I see people just making the stupidest comments and just being so negative. And I think, you know what, sometimes you have to give them, you have to realize that they're not the best team in the league. They're not. But they are trying. And even tonight, when they were down, they still came back a little bit. They tried. They pulled their goalie with two or 3 minutes left. It didn't work out for them. But I didn't expect them to win tonight anyway.
Yeah. I mean, they did battle back.
I didn't think they would. Yep. They did battle back a little bit. They didn't come, obviously they couldn't win. After when I thought they should have pulled Wall after 3 goals. When it was 3-1, that should have been it for him. Because I don't think he had a good night.
I think that's actually probably fair. Maybe even the pulling of Wall could have been a little bit sooner. I think Berube probably wanted to try to let him fight his way out of it a bit, but maybe it was just a little too late. But yeah, I mean, I actually think that's probably a fair point. Maybe he could have been pulled a little bit earlier. And Hildeby's been playing really well. I think Hildeby's come in relief and played really well. So yeah, maybe that one could have been done a little bit sooner.
Wall is a good goalie. I'm not saying he's shitty. A lot of Leaf fans will say, "Oh yeah, he's garbage." He's not. You can't be great all the time, and he didn't have a good night tonight. But that doesn't mean he's bad. But I would have taken him out after 3 and give Hildeby a chance. Just change the momentum. Yeah. Maybe they would have come back after 3 goals down, or 2 goals down actually at the time.
Anyway, all right, Scott. Final point here before we wrap up. We're almost 3 hours, and I'm not trying to kick you off. I'm happy to have you back anytime, but any final points here?
Well, now I know how to get in here. I can actually talk to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm glad we figured that out. I know it's a little tough because people have to have a Zoom account. I tried to find a phone number for you. I just couldn't figure out how to make it work, but I'm glad you figured out how to get in.
Yeah, so next time I'll do this.
All right, Scott. Anything else?
No. Just I'm a Leaf fan. Been a Leaf fan all my life, and I always root for them, and I don't shit on them when things go a little bit bad.
Fair. I appreciate the positivity, man.
I think they've been fantastic since Christmas. They've been the best team in the league for the last 13 games. Statistically, they've been the best team in the league. Yeah. I mean, the only other teams that are just right behind them are all Atlantic Division teams, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So they can't make any headway.
It is tough.
But I think they've done well, and I wish the real Leaf fans would get on the bandwagon and stop shitting on them every time there's something just goes bad a little bit. and it's like all these guys are crap. You can't do that. If you're a Leaf fan, you're a Leaf fan.
Yep.
Like,
hey, man.
you
I
don't
like the positivity.
Shit on them every time things go bad.
All right, Scott. Thank you for the call tonight.
And
I
I'm Scott from
appreciate it.
Bracebridge. I'm from Bracebridge, Muskoka.
All right, you want me to add that on there? I'll put it on next time. Scott from Bracebridge.
Yeah, I'm Scott from Bracebridge.
All right, Scott from Bracebridge. Appreciate the call tonight, buddy.
Yeah.
You enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, Zach. Have a good night,
Scott,
buddy.
You too. Thank you. There you go. Scott from Bracebridge, not Scott Dunlop. Well, Scott Dunlop too, but Scott from Bracebridge. What a call to close out the night. That was the positivity we needed at the end here. Doesn't shit on the team, loves the team. Appreciate the love for the show from Scott as well. But that was a good call there to close out the night tonight. With that, we do have a couple things that we got to do just to wrap this thing up, and those are housekeeping things, and that would start, obviously, with our play of the game. Okay, play of the game here. Play of the game, I'm going to go with the AM34 goal. Great pass by Domi to get that puck up ice to Matthews in transition. Great read by Matthews to take off there. You're obviously chasing in that one. You need to kind of find your way to battle back. You need to cheat for a little bit of offense, especially against a team that wasn't giving it to you easily here tonight. So great pass by Matthews, great pass by Domi to Matthews. Great finish by Matthews to cap that one off. That's my play of the game. And with that, let's get to our grade of the game. Also, quickly, actually, I see people in the chat. Shout out to all you guys who stick with it for 3 hours. Mike Cormier, thanks for the 3 hours, Zach. Glad Myers didn't play, but I hope he can get more Berube minutes to bust up in front of net. Maybe. Maybe there's other guys that they could get who would help out a little bit more, but fair enough. All right, with that, let's go grade of the game. We should keep the show going until 11 a.m. No, not happening. Grade of the game tonight, I'm going to go with a C. Minus. C minus. D plus. Special teams had a bad night. PK got rocked. Power play couldn't come through. Goaltending was rough. I don't think they cheated us on effort tonight. They could have been better effort-wise, but I don't think they cheated us on any effort. Matthews scores. That's positive. Third line looked good. Positive. We just need to see a bounce back on Wednesday. We need to see a bounce back on Wednesday. All right. That's going to do it for me. Slow or kind of quick end to the show, I know. But thank you to everybody who watched, commented, liked, subscribed here in this one tonight. Appreciate all the calls. Thank you to Scott Dunlop, who found a way to call in. Scott from Bracebridge. Appreciate that. Prague gets in here again tonight. Our guy Zach G, Scott Thompson also calling in, JD. So great to hear from everybody here on the post game. Jamie Richardson. Thanks to everybody who called. Thanks to everybody who super chatted, gave their opinions on tonight's game. Quickly here, the final ones I saw. Tavares looks lost without Willie on that line. Prague is like Chris Hansen telling you to take a seat, both from Max and Diastesimus. Thanks for calling here tonight. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for super chatting. Thanks for liking. Thank you for subscribing. That'll do it for tonight's postgame. A 6-3 loss to the Minnesota Wild. Still 1 point out of a playoff spot. Thanks to everybody. We'll see you guys back here on Wednesday. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications